in a criminal way, the investigation was interrupted by Mamata Banerjee herself and the police officials, in which she came, barged in, took away all the files and ran away with those files, is something that ED has been really shocked about, and they want those files and evidences back. While the hearing was happening last time in the High Court, in a WhatsApp group of the TMC legal cell, it was circulated, according to the ED, that they should come to the courtroom and create a chaos in order to stop this hearing. This time, preventive measures have been taken, including the fact that the hearing is happening in a closed door courtroom, so that no outsiders can enter. Only the parties of the particular case will be there, are there right now as we speak. And it's also live streamed. I'm trying to get the updates about what the lawyers are saying.
Right. You know, we are just getting in some updates also. Yeah.
Kolkata Banerjee is also pleading, and on the other hand, this ED official, the ED advocates are also pleading, and we can see that the case hearing has started as we speak. This is the fastest update about the case hearing, what's happening. The ED advocate is also talking about how the hearing was interrupted last time.
Yeah.
I'll be updating you with all the information.
Yes, Kishala. In fact, this ED versus Mamata Banerjee case has begun. The hearing has begun, and what we understand is that Additional Solicitor General S.V. Raju has appeared for the ED, and he has submitted the central agency. He submits that the central agencies filed 2 petitions before the Supreme Court as well, and they've made the same prayers in the Supreme Court. So the matter will be, Kisholai, coming up in the Supreme Court. What we understand, as for what the Additional Solicitor General is also saying, the matter is likely to come up in the Supreme Court. Let this matter be adjourned and heavens are not going to fall. This is right now what we understand is being said by submitted by the ASG. Kisholai, many thanks. We will be coming back as the hearing progresses. And in the meantime, we get our viewers the other stories that we are tracking for you. In fact, viewers, there is a feat, a milestone that has been achieved by the historic voyage as far as the INS Kandiya is concerned. Now that the ship has reached Muscat in Oman, and we are just getting you the visuals on the same. It's a historic 18-day voyage. And as you can see, this is the latest visual of that ship. The historic 18-day voyage of INSV Kandiya, and you can see the visuals. That's another very important feat by the vessel, the Indian Navy sailing vessel, that's constructed using Soon ship technique. And this is the INSV Kandiya. India taking a shot at reclaiming its maritime glory. It's a live floating historical voyage, and you can see that the crew on board right now posing. Kandiya is a stitched ship built by stitching wooden planks with coir rope, and was part of Indian Ocean trade around the first millennium CE. And this was in late December when the ship left Porbandar. And now they have reached Muscat. And this is a journey that is symbolically retracing historical maritime routes that once connected India with the wider Indian Ocean area. So it's named for a semi-legendary mariner. Kandiya is a stitched ship, a term referring to vessels built by stitching wooden planks together using a coir rope that formed part of the Indian Ocean traffic in and around the first millennium of the Common Era, as I mentioned. And the vessel's sails carry the Ganda Berunda, the royal emblem of the Kadambas, who once ruled over the Konkan. And it's built in Goa, and it's part of a government-led effort to revive traditional knowledge systems. And in fact, the initiative is driven by Sanjeev Sanyal, who's the member of Economic Advisory Council to the Prime Minister and the author of The Ocean of Churn. among other books. And when the ship departed from Porbandar, there were several senior political figures from Prime Minister Modi to BJP MP Tejasvi Surya who had marked this moment on social media. So everybody has been talking about this, and it's a very, very important milestone that has been now achieved as Indian diaspora also reached the Sultan Qaboos to welcome the crew. And that's the latest visual from Muscat, from Oman, and visuals of the same on your screens. So this is the latest update we have right now. It has a wide appeal, no doubt. It's an exercise in cultural diplomacy as well, as it's been seen. And it's a symbolic reconstruction from historical practice as well. And this is a revival of a rare craft tradition as well, built under the guidance of Master Shipwright Babu Shankaran, reviving the rare craft tradition long used along Indian coasts. So the crew of the stitched sailing vessel INSV Kandiya reaching Muscat, the historic 18-day voyage completed, 18 days at sea. And in fact, Mr. Sanjeev Sanyal had also posted this image saying that he enjoyed the moment with skipper Vikas Sheoran and expedition in charge Hemant Kumar. And another crew member also posted about the sighting of Muscat. And in fact, also there were a lot of wishes pouring in for the crew. INSV Kandiya, based on a 5th century CE ship, common era ship, depicted in the paintings of Ajanta caves and skippered by Commander Vikas Sheoran. The 16-member crew of INSV Kandiya reaching Muscat as planned. We will be slipping into a short break, viewers, but we'll continue to get you more updates on this, one of the top stories that we are now tracking for you.
ये है सीक्रेट रेसिपी MDH का जीरा सिप जल जीरा मसाला। सिप सिप जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप।
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
The icy cold waters of the Atlantic Ocean are getting hot, and how? The United States, in an overnight operation, has seized 2 oil tankers, one in the North Atlantic near Iceland, the other one near the Caribbean Sea. The one caught or seized near Iceland is Russia flagged, and the one that's caught near the Caribbean Sea was apparently a shadow tanker, a dark tanker carrying Venezuelan oil to China. Now, both the tankers were carrying Venezuelan oil, which is sanctioned by the United States. There is an embargo. It's interesting and a little curious how the 2 tankers could leave such heavily guarded waters, which are guarded both by the US Coast Guard and the US Navy, and reach this far. In fact, in the case of the merchant vessel Marinera, which is Russia flagged and was caught near Iceland by the US Navy with help from the United Kingdom Navy, the US Navy was on the chase, hot on the chase of this vessel for about 2 weeks, which shows that it was completely tracked, and both the sides were aware, because even in the case of the Russians, a submarine was closely following or shadowing this tanker which was carrying oil for Russia. Now, it's interesting why Russia, which itself has so much of energy, needs this oil from Venezuela, and that's where the whole geopolitics comes into play. Because remember, post the capture, abduction, kidnapping of Nicolas Maduro, the president of Venezuela, by the United States, the US has been building, President Trump himself leading from the front.
MDH की हल्दी मिर्ची धनिया करे कमाल, ये रंग दे, ये खुशबू दे, ये तीखा, ये कम पड़े, क्या निराला MDH मसाला। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे, केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार।
विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मम्मा, क्या स्वाद है। अरे मेरे राजा,
The icy cold waters of the Atlantic Ocean are getting hot, and how? The United States, in an overnight operation, has seized 2 oil tankers, one in the North Atlantic near Iceland, the other one near the Caribbean Sea. The one caught or seized near Iceland is Russia flagged, and the one that's caught near the Caribbean Sea was apparently a shadow tanker, a dark tanker carrying Venezuelan oil to China. Now, both the tankers were carrying Venezuelan oil, which is sanctioned by the United States. There is an embargo. It's interesting and a little curious how the 2 tankers could leave such heavily guarded waters, which are guarded both by the US Coast Guard and the US Navy, and reach this far. In fact, in the case of the merchant vessel Marinera, which is Russia flagged and was caught near Iceland by the
And fire broke out at BJP Rajya Sabha MP Ravi Shankar Prasad's residence today, early this morning. And 3 fire tenders were rushed to the spot when the fire broke out, when the call was made for firefighting. And this happened around 8 a.m. today. And the quick response team was rushed to the BJP MP's residence in the national capital. 3 fire tenders and forensic team had reached the location, and the fire was doused. And the cause of this fire is being investigated. Watch this report for more information.
At 8:05 a.m. this morning, a fire incident was reported at the official residence of BJP MP Ravi Shankar Prasad. 3 fire tenders immediately reached the spot and doused the fire. The Patna Sahib MP was not at his residence at the time of the incident.
पटना से बीजेपी के सांसद और पूर्व केंद्रीय मंत्री रविशंकर प्रसाद के दिल्ली स्थित आवास 21 मदर टेरेसा क्रेसेंट रोड पर आज सुबह तड़के करीब 8:05 पर दमकल विभाग को फोन आता है कि यहां पर एक आग लगने की घटना। उसके बाद दमकल विभाग की टीम यहां पर घर पर पहुंचती है और आग बुझाने का सिलसिला शुरू हो जाता है। बताया जा रहा है कि करीब आधे घंटे के अंदर इस आग पर काबू पा लिया गया। जिस तरीके से जानकारी मिलती है कि कमरे में एक बेड पर इस तरीके से आग की घटना की कॉल दमकल विभाग को मिलती है। उसके बाद पूरी तरीके से आग को बुझाने का काम शुरू किया जाता है और आधे घंटे के अंदर काबू पा लिया जाता है। हालांकि इस घटना में किसी भी तरीके से किसी को किसी प्रकार की हानि नहीं हुई, ये गनीमत की बात रही है। लेकिन हाई प्रोफाइल इलाके में हाई प्रोफाइल व्यक्ति के घर में इस तरीके से घटना को लेकर जो अमला है पूरी तरीके से हरकत में आ जाता है। पूरी तरीके से जो अमला और तुरंत ही कॉल मिलते ही पहुंचता है और आग पर काबू पाने के यहाँ पर प्रयास शुरू कर दिए जाते हैं। और अब जिस तरीके से सुरक्षा को लेकर अब यहाँ पर सवाल उठ रहा है और किस तरीके से आग लगी, इस घटना की पूरी तरीके से अब जांच की जा रही है। और कहा जा रहा है जिस तरीके से जो कॉल के दौरान बताया गया कि एक रूम में एक बेड पर इस तरीके से आग की घटना सामने आई है।
No casualties or injuries have been reported in this incident. Delhi Police Forensics team along with the fire officials are investigating the exact cause of the inferno.
And we shift our focus back to Calcutta High Court, where the ED versus Mamata case is right now underway. The ED's petition is being right now heard by the court, and Additional Solicitor General is right now appearing, SV Raju appearing for the Enforcement Directorate. They've sought the adjournment of the matter. They have filed 2 petitions before the Supreme Court as well. That's what they've mentioned. Meanwhile, the TMC says that the ED's petition is not maintainable, and ED says that the matter should be adjourned till the Supreme Court hears this case. While at the same time, you must remember that Mamata Banerjee has filed a caveat already in the Supreme Court for this case, and seeking a fair hearing on Mamata government's side before this matter reaches, as she had anticipated, the ED will be moving the Supreme Court, which they did. So that's the breaking news we have right now. This is on the IPAC raids. ED seeks adjournment on the matter. And TMC meanwhile says that the data cannot be used against us. That's the breaking news we have right now. hearing starts as Additional Solicitor General CSV Raju appears for ED. He submits the central agency has filed 2 petitions before the Supreme Court. And that's what Additional Solicitor General ASV Raju has said. And our Executive Head of Legal Affairs, Rhythm, is joining us on the broadcast. Rhythm, tell us more updates. What is happening in the court right now?
Just 15 minutes into the hearing, and we can already see the daggers being drawn between the ED and the state of West Bengal. Appearing for the TMC is here Mamata Banerjee, senior advocate, who is now stating that they need to argue the case in the Calcutta High Court. Appearing for the ED, they are saying that these prayers are the same before the top court of the country, and therefore this matter should be adjourned because it's going to come up before the Supreme Court of India. Here both them. The court said on maintainability, let me hear the ASG. It is settled if the matter is coming up also before the Supreme Court, then I have to then see what has to be done. Senior advocate Kalyan Bandyopadhyay also opposes the adjournment request being made by the Enforcement Directorate. They have said that this is not right. ASG Raju questions the interim relief that the TMC is asking for. Remember, the main concern here is that they do, your lordship is, they are worried in what's going to happen. They are saying that this search, our privacy may be maintained. We live in a constitutional democracy. We have a right to privacy. Political ideology should be protected. Already before the Calcutta High Court, TMC's lawyer, Mamata Goswami, has started speaking. She's saying that our political data should be protected and not released. She's saying, I want to be very clear that this should happen and not be used in a political fashion. However, Justice Ghosh has told the TMC, let me first hear the Union of India because they want to argue on maintainability. ASG Raju is saying, you are cutting off my mic every moment I'm being muted. Somebody is playing mischief. He is saying, I'm challenging the maintainability. Let me hear him, is what Justice Ghosh is saying. It's very, very clear that in a very chaotic hearing that's happening in the Calcutta High Court, we are seeing that the counsel appearing for Trinamool Congress is challenging the maintainability of the plea. The ECI, the counsel for the Union of India, says the ECI also has to be made a party to this case. Election is yet to be okay, that's another case that I'm talking about. But let's tell our viewers what's happening in this case. ET is saying that this case is going to come up in the Supreme Court. However, I want to tell our viewers, the last time when this case was to be heard in the Calcutta High Court, there was so much ruckus that was created in the Calcutta High Court that Justice Surva Ghosh had to delay the hearing of this case. And at that time, there was now yesterday a decision taken that this entire case will only be there on video stream. Only the lawyers will be allowed to be present inside the courtroom. These kind of orders are very rarely passed. It's only when they believe that they will not be allowed to hear the case is when this happens. So today, when this case is coming up, on maintainability, yes, this is the same case that we are seeing, that a council is now saying that the Election Commission of India should be made a party in this case. The election is yet to be notified. The lawyer says this writ petition is in the respect of SIR. Search was conducted at somebody else's home. Writ petition can be filed by someone whose rights are infringed. What rights of the TMC are infringed? So viewers, I just want to explain to you, in the last 15 minutes that the hearing has happened in the Calcutta High Court, first, the TMC spoke, Mamata Goswami spoke and said they want to protect their data. We heard the Additional Solicitor General of India appearing for the central government say that this case should be adjourned because the top court of the country seized of the matter. This ED versus Additional Solicitor General of India, I beg your pardon, appearing for the Enforcement Directorate, say that this matter is going to be heard in this, he's representing the Union of India. He's saying that this matter is going to be heard in the Supreme Court. So it's best that this matter should not be taken up right now. And as this happens, his mic apparently, allegedly had been muted. So he said, why did that happen? However, both the counsels were making a point when a third person, a third lawyer has got up and said that the search was conducted at someone else's house. The ECI should also be made a party. All these allegations and counter allegations will continue to be made But at the very heart of this is what happened when we saw scenes of the TMC and the West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee storming to a raid that was being conducted by the ED. She stormed there and she seized certain papers which was stated to be wrong. Then she led a massive protest rally that was also a BJP rally. But what made Mamata so desperate to gate crash an ED raid is what has to also be seen. The ED immediately moved the Calcutta High Court. They had tried to mention the matter. They wanted it heard. They want protection from the police, whom they said was hand in glove with the government there. And in conversations across West Bengal, at roadsides, tea shops, public transports, the topic was doing the round. What made Mamata Banerjee so nervous, so desperate that she had to gate crash the ED raids and snatch the documents, a cell phone, and a laptop? What was so secret, so crucial that the TMC had to hold protests not only in West Bengal but also in New Delhi? And we saw these protests happening. Now, Mamata and her party insist the raid was done at the behest of the BJP, the Home Minister, to get details about Trinamool's strategies. But the bigger picture, really, controversies erupted is whether there was something there in those books that they wanted to hide. As we are speaking, this hearing continues in the Calcutta High Court. The writ petition, as I'm saying, is based on elections, is what the lawyer is saying. He's getting a hearing. Somebody's data is seized from someone's house. He says he should come forward. The respondent force should have filed a petition, the council says, referring to IPAC co-founder Pratik Jain. So all sides being heard, Rakshita, in the Calcutta High Court. Once there's an update, we go back to live updates on this hearing.
Absolutely. In fact, ED also says that mic is being muted, Rhythm. That is another point that has come to light, that ED in court says, sorry, State of Affairs, even my mic is being muted. Meanwhile, it's about political data. Rhythm, if we can understand from you, when it comes to data, now they clearly had asked for files to be returned. And they say that the person whose property was searched, whose residence was searched, that person can raise a complaint. What business does Mamata Banerjee have to, file complaint against it? What business does government have? Because this is about files for investigation. So, I'm told we'll just reconnect with Rhythm, but yes, we will continue to get you updates, viewers. Mamata government in court says that we want political data to be safe, and on the files stolen, Mamata government claims that they are only saving political data. They want political data to be safe, and and in fact, the council says that the writ petition is based on election. It does not talk about infringement of right. And if some data is seized at the IPAC office, how is it connected to petitioner? This is what has been argued by the council. And in fact, the council also said that search was conducted at somebody else's house, referring to IPAC. And my colleague Shavan joins us to get us more. He's been tracking the ED in this case. And Shavan, clearly we see that ED is looking to adjourn the matter. At the same time, TMC says that this is political data that they are trying to keep safe.
Let me just take you through first the petition that has been filed by the West Bengal government and the counter to which has come in from the Enforcement Directorate. Why is it that the enforcement is looking at the matter being heard in the Supreme Court? Because remember, when this petition was actually filed before the Calcutta High Court and the matter wasn't really heard because of overcrowding in the courtroom, and thereafter there were immediate measures that were taken by the Enforcement Directorate here in the National Capital, writing an email to the Chief Justice in Calcutta. But there wasn't much of a response that has really come in. For the Enforcement Directorate, time is of essence right now because, importantly, it's about destruction of evidence. In the petition, Enforcement Directorate has leveled a direct allegation against the sitting Chief Minister. That is, that she entered the place where the searches were carried out. This was the search that was being carried out at IPAC co-founder Pratik Jain's residence. And the allegation was that the Chief Minister had taken away evidence that was indexed already. Not just that, there was also direct threats that were issued to the independent witnesses. Those are punch witnesses in this case. And they've recorded that the punch witnesses were told not to record anything and to leave the premises. Now, that was the direct allegation that has been leveled by the Enforcement Directorate against the sitting Chief Minister. As far as the West Bengal government is concerned, right from the beginning, when you've had the Chief Minister barging into the residence of Pratik Sira, where the searches were carried out, she said that this is, after all, the IT cell of Trinamool Congress, and there are party documents, and these party documents were being stolen by the centre. That's the allegation that is levelled by the Chief Minister against the Enforcement Directorate, which has been refuted by the agency by saying that this is an ongoing investigation. They're looking at funds that were being traced back to 2017 and 2018, looking at the cattle smuggling case in which they believe that proceeds of crime, roughly about over 80 crores have been under the scanner. In fact, as far as IPAC is concerned, they suspect that about 20 crore rupees as hawala transaction that has taken place between Calcutta and Goa. And in fact, this happened during the Goa elections when IPAC was essentially the campaign manager of the Trinamool Congress.
Even the Council for Centre makes a case for the Election Commission of India to be made a party to this case. So what's really the context? What could be the role of ECI in this?
Well, in fact, as far as the West Bengal government is concerned, time and again, they've essentially said that the voter list and the campaign strategy is something that is looked after by IPAC itself. And they believe that there is a strategy that has been adopted by them that is going by every constituency and every district, which is being handled by IPAC itself. Their office is in Calcutta, and they've been operating, over the last couple of years. And as far as Trinamool Congress is concerned, they say that these documents were being stolen by the Enforcement Directorate at the behest of the centre. And the reason why the Election Commission really comes into the picture is basically to look into the violations that have essentially taken place. The Enforcement Directorate does not really care about the intervention of the Election Commission of India because this case is about money laundering. This case is about the alleged role of IPAC, whether at all they were involved in some sort of a hawala transaction. That is a subject of investigation. The Enforcement Directorate hasn't come to any sort of a conclusion. But having said that, in the petition, they have made another sensational allegation, and the allegation is about hawala transactions.
Right. In fact, we're also getting in live updates. Now, ASG Raju argues, he submits that record, if any seized, was by Mamata Banerjee. She has taken possession illegally and committed an offence. Unless she is made party by TMC, plea is not maintainable. No records have been seized by the ED. So if the petition is filed by a stranger, kindly look into who the petitioner is.
Well, in fact, they've carried on with the argument by saying the search was conducted at somebody else's house. Writ petition can be filed by someone whose rights are infringed. What rights of Trinamool Congress is essentially infringed? And that's a question that everyone has been asking from day one. You have unprecedented images of a sitting chief minister going into the residence of a private company owner. And secondly, as far as whether at all they were handling the political affairs of the party itself, if that is the concern that the Chief Minister has, does that really require the intervention of not just the Chief Minister, but the entire bureaucratic system of West Bengal, which includes the Chief Secretary? In fact, the Chief Secretary was present there along with the Chief Minister. The DGP was present there. If at all this question, if it was a matter of law and order, then perhaps it would have been the local police. What was the need of the Chief Secretary to be present there? How is it, a government issue to begin with? It seems that, they have not had any differentiator between the fact that this is to do with the political party or to do with the government of West Bengal.
Yeah. Well, Shavan, just stay on with us. I'll just hand it over to the studio where Abhishek Kapoor joins us. Abhishek, over to you.
Thank you so much, Rakshita. I would request Shavan to stay with us, and even as I would want the desk to arrange that rhythm comes back on the broadcast and joins the conversation. Shavan, I've been going through the arguments that have been going on in the Calcutta High Court, and even as the ED has sought adjournment because they want their petition to be first heard before the Supreme Court. My question to you is that the Trinamool side... Okay, Shavan is putting on the EP, so I'll ask the question next. But essentially what has happened in the courts, in the Calcutta High Court, friends, is that the Enforcement Directorate has sought an adjournment of the hearing, saying that the matter has also to come up before the Supreme Court, which is, I believe, going to happen today only. And because if something is before the Supreme Court, the High Courts generally defer and not take up the matter, so the ED has sought adjournment. The Trinamool, on the other hand, with a different petition in the same case, maintained that no, the hearing should take place today only. Shravan is back with us live now. And Shravan, my question to you, on the side of ED, why are they insisting that the matter be heard in the Supreme Court first, even as the petition first was filed in the High Court back on Friday?
Well, in fact, for the Enforcement Directorate, it is extremely important that the matter is adjudicated as soon as possible, because this is pertaining to the evidence that they believe has already been destroyed. So with every passing day, they believe that they are losing out on the investigation itself. That is the reason why they believe that the Supreme Court should basically intervene here. Their demand is that the Central Bureau of Investigation should be called in. The investigation should be carried out by them, because they believe that the Bengal police is completely discredited as far as their actions are concerned. And that is the reason why they believe that a fair trial cannot actually take place in West Bengal. They're hoping that there would be some directions given by the Supreme Court on this entire matter. Now, as far as the Kolkata High Court hearing is concerned, there is already a petition that has been filed by the Enforcement Directorate, which is pretty much the same that they filed before the Apex Court. Their demand has been the introduction of the investigation by the Central Bureau of Investigation, a direction to the Chief Minister not to interfere in future investigation. And the third most important part is that in future, whenever summons are basically issued to the suspects in the case, they should be cooperating with the Enforcement Directorate. So net, they do not want any sort of political interference to begin with. And they believe that there is enough time that has been given to the Chief Minister, and there is a possibility of destruction of evidence, and that is going to have a direct impact on the entire investigation. That is the reason why you're looking at the agency being in a tearing hurry to perhaps have some sort of an adjudication on this issue.
Okay, Shravan, the chief plea of Trinamool or the Mamata government is that they want their political data to be saved and safe and not to be released to the media. I'm told Swapnil Kothari, senior lawyer, joins us live, I believe, and let me go to him. Swapnil Kothari, we are hearing of some sharp exchanges that have taken place between Additional Solicitor General SV Raju and Mamata's or Trinamool's counsel Menaka Guruswamy. And at one stage, ASG also says that somebody is trying to mute my mic and interrupt in a manner that that is not good. And then essentially the petition of Trinamool is their data be saved. It should not be made public. Now it's a political party. It works in public domain, and in public life, the data is already with Mamata Banerjee. She has not let ED take it. In fact, ASG Raju mentions that we don't have the data. And yet the main petition of Trinamool is, let this data not be made public. So what's there to hide is the question that we have been asking from the first day. What's there in the green folder? And that becomes the chief issue in the Kolkata High Court hearing.
Well, Abhishek and Shravan, the Mamata Banerjee government is known to do all these things. It's clear interference with the judicial process. It's tampering with the judicial process. It's trying to affect the evidence. It's trying to ensure that some sort of evidence is not let out. It could possibly be destruction of documents also tomorrow. And, even if you allow them finally to the ED to go and what's going to happen is that you will find nothing in there. So these are all tactics employed by the Mamata's government. And this is where the problem lies. The allegation by Mamata's government is that the Enforcement Directorate is working at the hands of the government in power. And that is the reason why the Enforcement Directorate is jaundiced in its view or in its investigative proceedings. Now, this is not how the law works. This is not how it works. If you have that kind of an issue, you have to share the things that the Enforcement Directorate will ask for from you. It would have the sufficient basis. I would use the word warrant, or I would use some sort of an interrogatory whereby you have to reply, you have to comply with the process. And if you don't comply, then you are in breach of the proceedings, and the Enforcement Directorate can possibly tomorrow even require you to or compel you from an order from the court to part with these things. So basically, this is nothing but a time-gaining exercise, Shravan and Abhishek. And I believe that there must be something seriously incriminating in those papers, in that file, in that document. That is the reason why Mamata's government is hesitating to share it. And let's see what the High Court comes up with. I believe that the High Court should possibly direct the government to part with all these documents, and then eventually, if
Swapnil,
the Enforcement Directorate's proceedings are a witch hunt, then the court will say that, well, this is a witch hunt at the end of the day.
Some very basic questions. Please throw light on this. We want to understand. Viewers would also want to understand because the proceedings are on. The ASG has effectively raised the issue of locus of Trinamool. They are saying Pratik Jain, somebody's house, IPAC, some other office is under search and scrutiny and a raid by the ED. How come Trinamool come in picture? How come they become a party? So, I mean, ASG is raising a very fundamental question that Trinamool sort of gets in through Mamata Banerjee and becomes a party. Ideally, Pratik Jain should be petitioner and respondent rather, and not Mamata Banerjee or Trinamool.
Very good question, Abhishek. And for the benefit of the viewers, let me tell you that if there is even some sort of a remote connection between the two, and the Trinamool government tries to get into the petition and says that, we are intervening in this matter, and let us be also heard, the court is not going to stop them from being heard. At the end of the day, the court is well within its reach or within its powers to throw it out and say that you have got no connection and you have no local standi. And on that basis itself, we can throw out the government's stand. But the point is that at this stage, at the very initial stage of the hearing, that I think from what we are believing, the court is asking these questions and trying to figure out as to why the government has to step into the shoes and or get into this matter or get into the picture at all. So if this is some sort of a government's ploy or a strategy to try to debunk what the Enforcement Directorate is doing, then the court would like to hear. What it does thereafter and what conclusions it reaches, it is a separate issue altogether. And that itself is going to take you a couple of hours or possibly even days to try to understand, because the court's time is limited and the court may hear people for about half an hour or so or a year or an hour or so and then give the next date. Or if it has decided that it's going to hear till 4:30 or 5 p.m., then it's a different issue. But be that as it may, Abhishek, the locus standi is a very pertinent issue. And I as a citizen can say about the potholes in Mumbai. And I can come and say that, and the court can ask me what is the locus standi, and I'll say that possibly I've fallen or I may fall tomorrow. And the court will grant me that locus standi. But as far as the government is concerned, the government will have to plead it very, very strongly, very carefully. And I'm sure the people who are representing the government are seasoned lawyers who are doing so and possibly know how to implead themselves in not only on paper, but even get themselves to be heard. So it is a fundamental question, but it is not something which, is bizarre.
And Raj, the Additional Solicitor General has also said, Swapnil, that there is a case of false affidavit because the Trinamool affidavit is saying that we were there and then those documents were taken. But they are not supposed to be there. They were not, their documents are not taken. So ED is actually claiming that no documents have been taken. If at all, documents have been taken by Mamata Banerjee, and that is the issue. But that has to be heard before the Supreme Court and not the Calcutta High Court. You think the court can continue to hear the manner in which it is and not adjourn when the ED has sought an adjournment? Or you think the court has jurisdiction to listen to the other petition of Trinamool pending an ED petition in the Supreme Court?
Well, it all depends upon the fact of the matter. If the causes are different, what we call it as the cause of action, if they are different and what is pending in the Supreme Court is entirely different from what is there before the High Court, then the High Court will hear it. And if it is very similar or it is the same, then obviously the High Court is going to say that, sorry, this is pending in the Supreme Court, and the fact, let them hear them out first, or let the Supreme Court direct us to hear it. Then we'll hear it. But the point is that I'm assuming that people are smart enough, the lawyers are smart enough to put something before the High Court which is significantly different than what it is there in the Supreme Court or what is before the Supreme Court. Then in that case, yes, if there is a lie on an affidavit, that it amounts to perjury. But let me tell you one thing, that more often than not, the courts tend to sort of trivialize that issue, that people have the habit of saying, exaggerating on an affidavit and trying to say that, this has happened when actually something little than that has happened. Unless you want to throw mud in the eyes of the court and you want to really, really take the court in a different direction and the gravity of the statement is a significant lie, which is there to hoodwink the court or which is there to bypass the ends of justice, then the court is going to look at it very seriously and is going to expunge that particular statement from its scrutiny and possibly even going to issue a contempt notice to you saying that why contempt proceedings should not be issued against you for perjury. But be that as it may, what is there before the Supreme Court and what is here before the High Court, one has to really look at the pleadings before both the courts and then try to figure it out. But I'm sure the High Court knows what it's doing, and more importantly than that, it is the lawyers for the TMC who know what they're doing. So there is a particular reason why they have come here. There is possibly to stem the rot or to assume the rot from them, saying that the ED is operating at the behest of the government and it's not operating independently. So that is what the court is. That is what the court will have to figure it out. But I'm sure that the TMC knows how to use the legal process before that and try to put as much spokes in the wheels in the proceedings of ED, and will try to dilute this so-called lie, alleged so by the Enforcement Directorate. I'm assuming that it is a lie, and possibly they'll try to trivialize it and say, it was not actually a lie, but some sort of as what we call a puffery, or an exaggerated statement, saying that I'm the best in the world. It's an exaggerated statement.
In fact, ASG Raju has used the word perjury. You are right that the charge of lying or perjury is on Trinamool insofar as the present proceedings are concerned. Because according to the ED, the Trinamool was not supposed to be there. The case of Mamata Banerjee picking up a file and data is a separate case of theft, and that's why they wanted to be heard in the Supreme Court. I mean, this is explained to us. How do proceedings in the Calcutta High Court not inspire confidence in the ED vis-a-vis the Supreme Court? How does it work really? Because there is a writ jurisdiction that the High Court also has.
Yes, exactly. And that's what I'm about to tell you, that the writ jurisdiction of the High Court under Article 226, as opposed to the writ jurisdiction under Article 32 of the Constitution of India, if it's for the fundamental rights. And this is Article 226, the High Court has a plenary jurisdiction to issue writs. Now, I don't know what the writ is for, maybe to issue a mandamus, maybe to issue a certiorari trying to quash something, but mandamus is to direct the government, in simple words, for the benefit of your viewers, to issue, it goes from the court to try to tell the government to do something which it's supposed to do but has not done so. So if they have not parted with the documents which they are supposed to do, then there is a writ of mandamus. Now, the perjury aspect is something which the ED has to prove. It is not upon me to show that I have not lied. It is upon them to show that I have lied. So the burden of proof lies on the Enforcement Directorate, on the investigating agency, to show that this particular statement is a lie. And you try to show that why is it a lie? Adduce some evidence to show that these people were not there, or they were there, or they were supposed to give something which they did not give, and they're saying that they've given, and actually we don't have it. And where is the proof that they've given it? Because normally when one party in a litigation proceeding gives something to the other, does so with a cover letter. And on that, it takes an acknowledgement of the photocopy of that saying, which is a proof that, I'm supposed to, there was an interrogatory from the Enforcement Directorate. I was supposed to give that. Look, I have given that. Now, this is something which the Enforcement Directorate will have to show first. So basically what the Trinamool government is doing, Abhishek, is this. It's trying to put as many spokes in the wheel and trying to delay and, sort of trivialize and try to show to the court that these proceedings are all bogus. That is basically at the gist of it, and they may very well try to even get those proceedings squashed. So that is what the Trinamool Congress is trying to do, because ultimately they don't want to part with the documents, and they want to say that this is nothing but a witch hunt of the government. And given the government's stand with the West Bengal government since possibly decades, they'll have enough to show that possibly the government is against that, but those reasons may be legitimate. But the usage of the Enforcement Directorate in this particular thing is something which is not required. Now that burden of proof will lie on the Trinamool government, not on the Enforcement Directorate. The Enforcement Directorate will simply show that these are the things that we need. We need to conduct these proceedings, and that's the reason why we want to have it. And what is the harm? We are empowered by the PMLA to do so, to ask. And in fact, recent case before the Supreme Court a couple of years ago, PMLA was granted complete, more or less, constitutionality on several of its provisions to have that kind of a very, very strenuous powers in its hand, and to show that yes, it may be a draconian legislation, but it is a necessary legislation, just like the Makoka in Maharashtra that we have, and many other legislations like UAPA, which are draconian in nature, but they are required in this country.
Yeah. Okay. Now, let's discuss some political aspect also. The justice for before we go to the political aspect, Swapnil, the court, Justice Ghosh, is repeatedly insisting that the ASG stick to the issue of maintainability and not go into the merits of the case. So you think that the ED request for adjournment is still valid and that the court is going to apply its mind to it? They're not going into hearing as yet. They're just listening to the early stage arguments of both sides as to the maintainability of the petition of Trinamool?
Yes. So basically what the court is trying to say that if you're saying that the Trinamool petition is a bogus petition, it's a petition to thwart the enforcement directorate proceedings, then you better prove it that this petition is not maintainable, rather than going into the merits of the case. So, when you talk about maintainability for the benefit of the viewers, you have to go in somewhat of the merit. You may not discuss everything threadbare, but you have to show that there is no merit in the petition of the Trinamool government. And that's the reason why we are asking that this petition should be dismissed in, ab initio itself. So, that burden is going to lie on the enforcement directorate, and maybe the request for the adjournment may be seen as an underpreparedness of the the enforcement directorate. And if that underpreparedness is there, then it's not going to possibly allow the petition to be adjourned in that sense, and may say that, look, you tell us whether it's maintainable or not, and we'll rule on the maintainability part today itself. So don't ask for any adjournments, and the courts tend to fight shy generally of giving adjournments where it senses that Trinamool is on that enforcement directorate is on a weaker wicket, if at all it senses so. And if it does so, then it may just say that the petition is maintainable. Sorry, don't waste our time, and give it a date for a possible hearing next time, and possibly say that, which seems unlikely to me, that the Trinamool's petition is not maintainable, and, say that, sorry, Trinamool, your petition is not maintainable, and we're going to, just squash it right away, saying that it is not maintainable, and try to dismiss it straight away. So that is basically the maintainability aspect. In as much as you say that it should not be on the merits, but there is a little bit of merit that you have to talk about, saying that why it is not maintainable. And so likewise, Trinamool will have to show that why it is maintainable. So little bit of merit will have to go into it. You can't just argue in a vacuum.
Yeah. In fact, the argument keeps coming back to the main question, Swapnil Kothari. And last question before I let you go, which is that what's there in the seized data? ED says we have not taken any data. We have seen pictures of Mamata Banerjee picking up that file and going. In fact, the main plea in the petition of Trinamool is that their data be protected, which they claim ED has seized, ED denies. So what's the case really? I mean, if the data, ED says they don't have any data, Trinamool says please protect the data, how is the court going to decide?
The data needs to be protected, provided it's not in the public domain. It's considered to be so private by the court that it needs to be protected. Otherwise, if it's there in the public domain, like an Aadhaar or something of that sort, I don't know what do you mean by the deceased data? Not you, meaning in particular. I'm just asking in TMC as to what they mean by that. So the court will have to examine that. The nature of the data that the Trinamool tries to protect and say that, look, this is a very private data and, will be considered as in violation of the data protection law, which has just come into force, and all that nonsense that they'll talk about. But I think the enforcement directorate has got enough powers to examine data, even so considered to be private, even so protected under the data protection law, if they have a very, very legitimate reason of public order, morality, or even the security of the country, or, you have overarching reasons behind the data sharing. So that is something.
And there is a bit of twist, Swapnil. Interesting twist. Lawyers, the business of lawyering is about play of words. So I find it very interesting. Justice Ghosh, I think, is trying to sort of find a halfway house, a middle path. He's saying, I hope you have heard submissions. They have only asked for preservation of political documents. So in a way, ED says we don't have documents, but if there are any, we can keep them. The Trinamool says, okay, fine, keep them, don't bring them out, give it to the media. So maybe that halfway house might be found. You think that be the case, and then the case might be adjourned till the Supreme Court takes it up?
Possibly, they'll have to decide whether they, first of all, if the Supreme Court has to hear it, the High Court will eventually have to say that, look, we are not going to hear it until the Supreme Court finishes it, because there is commonality of issues and those things like that. And it has to give a very valid reason as to why it doesn't choose to hear it, or why even after hearing it today, it doesn't want to rule upon it. Now, as far as the preservation of the political documents is concerned, Abhishek, I don't know what political documents are these. And, finally, I think it seems that Trinamool seems to be relenting on the fact that, okay, we'll share it, but, don't make it public and don't send it to the media, because otherwise, things will absolutely get out of hand once the media gets, hang of it. So there the Supreme Court may agree to that, saying that, okay, fair enough, it's between two parties, and let's keep it quiet and secret for the moment, and let's not share it with the media. At the moment, media doesn't have to get into every single thing that happens within the court proceedings, and there are reasons for not sharing it with the media. So, it just could be that, and the court will have to rule one way or the other. It has to say that, okay, we are going to hear it. It's different from what is there before the Supreme Court, or it's the same before the Supreme Court. Let the Supreme Court hear it. But I don't think it's going to take too long for the High Court to come to a conclusion now, given that statement of Justice Ghosh.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, it's in bold now. ASG Raju has said, we don't have any data. Enforcement Directorate did not seize any data. And that it is Mamata Banerjee, the Chief Minister of Bengal, who came and took away the data. So the onus is on Trinamool to explain what is the data, where is the data, how to make it public, how not to make it public, not on the ED. That's what ASG Raju says in his arguments. Mamata Goswami on the behalf of Trinamool to be heard yet. Thank you so much, Swapnil Kothari, for joining us. Now I go to Kolkata, where Kishala is joining us live on this. Just a sec. Mamata has data. That's the ED charge. We don't have data. Mamata has data. Then what's the question about? Kishalai, arguments going on in the Calcutta High Court. The ED says the Trinamool petition is not maintainable. In any case, they want adjournment of the hearing so that the Supreme Court, which also has a petition from the ED, take the matter up, which perhaps could be later in the day. Kishalai, on the ground, is Trinamool politicizing the issue already as the hearing goes on in the Calcutta High Court?
Abhishek, as you were rightly pointing out, the ED has completely maintained that the data is stolen by Mamata Banerjee. She has taken away the data. She has taken away the files. She has taken away all the digital evidence. The ED doesn't even have any data. So that is what ED is saying. ED lawyer, ED advocates are saying in the court right now. SV Raju was arguing a while back. On the other hand, the Trinamool Congress lawyers, including Kalyan Banerjee and other lawyers, are arguing that it is their right to take away their political property. And it was in fact the ED which came for the political documents and properties of the Trinamool Congress. This is the argument going on. But the argument ends here. The data is with Mamata Banerjee. She took away the data. The ED doesn't even have the data. On the other hand, as you were asking me about the political turmoil that's going on in Bengal, as the case hearing is on right now, the BJP and the Trinamool Congress is at loggerheads as well. The BJP is saying Mamata Banerjee is a file thief, quote unquote. That is what the BJP is saying, that Mamata Banerjee came openly, took away the files, stole the files, and she went away. Now she needs to return those files. On the other hand, the TMC is saying that it is the right of the Trinamool Congress Supremo to go to save their political confidential data, and she went for that. That political war is right now going on as we speak. Shubhendu Adhikari spoke a while back. Shukarto Majumdar spoke in the same manner. On the other hand, TMC spokesperson and ministers as well have also spoken out on it. As you know very rightly, that argument is going on in the High Court right now as we speak, and the ED is saying that they are in fact going to submit against Mamata Banerjee because she is the person who came to take away those files. And in the courtroom today, Mamata Banerjee or anyone present with her is not present today, but they went there, including the Kolkata Police Commissioner. We know he went there, the DG went there, the Chief Secretary went there, the Home Secretary went there, and they helped Mamata Banerjee to take away those files.
All right, Kishala, stay with us. We have to slip into a quick short break, but coming back on the other side with a rolling coverage of proceedings on the ED plea against Trinamool and Mamata Banerjee in the Calcutta High Court.
13,000 placements last year. At Amity, we are committed to nurturing passionate, hardworking and proactive professionals.
ये है सीक्रेट रेसिपी MDH का जीरा सिप जल जीरा मसाला। सिप सिप जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप।
इसको घर पे लगाओगे तो शादी का तो पता नहीं, पर घर पक्का नहीं टूटेगा।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
पहाड़ों में एक हाइकिंग स्टिक भी बन सकती है।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरीडे।
MDH की हल्दी मिर्ची धनिया करे कमाल। ये रंग दे, ये खुशबू दे, ये तीखा, ये कम पड़े। क्या निराला MDH मसाला।
The icy cold waters of the Atlantic Ocean are getting hot, and how? The United States, in an overnight operation, has seized 2 oil tankers, one in the North Atlantic near Iceland, the other one near the Caribbean Sea. The one caught or seized near Iceland is Russia flagged, and the one that's caught near the Caribbean Sea was apparently a shadow tanker, a dark tanker carrying Venezuelan oil to China. Now,
अब छोलिया हो या लोबिया, सफेद चने या काले चने,
सब कुछ मजेदार बने।
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता, उबालो, मिलाओ और खाओ।
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है, सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
The icy cold waters of the Atlantic Ocean are getting hot, and how? The United States, in an overnight operation, has seized 2 oil tankers, one in the North Atlantic near Iceland, the other one near the Caribbean Sea. The one caught or seized near Iceland is Russia flagged, and the one that's caught near the Caribbean Sea was apparently a shadow tanker, a dark tanker carrying Venezuelan oil to China. Now, both the tankers were carrying Venezuelan oil, which is sanctioned by the United States. There is an embargo. It's interesting and a little curious how the 2 tankers could leave such heavily guarded waters, which are guarded both by the US Coast Guard and the US Navy, and reach this far. In fact, in the case of the merchant vessel Marinera, which is Russia flagged and was caught near Iceland by the US Navy with help from the United Kingdom Navy, the US Navy was on the chase, hot on the chase of this vessel for about 2 weeks. All right, we are back to covering and bringing to you the broadcast of Calcutta High Court proceedings in the ED plea over Mamata Banerjee's obstruction during the IPAC raid that was being carried out last week, and the hearing is on in Justice Shuvra Ghosh court, or courtroom of Justice Shuvra Ghosh. ED has cited a case in the Supreme Court, and on that ground sought an adjournment of the hearings after having filed a petition in the Calcutta High Court itself the same day. Kishalai, the hearing was to take place last week but could not because of the courtroom not being in order, because there was too much of crowd and pandemonium, so to say, inside the courtroom. Now the court seems to be in order, things seem to be settled. Was that a case of sabotage last week so that the Trinamool could get time to file their own separate petition? Because now that ED has sought an adjournment, the Trinamool petition remains. So the Trinamool can say, okay, fine, listen to our petition, forget about the ED petition, and can then have their say in the court.
Well, Abhishek, the ED has specifically alleged that it was a WhatsApp group message that was circulated among the TMC legal cell workers, members and advocates so that they can come to the courtroom, create chaos and adjourn the hearing. That's what happened last week. In fact, State Minister and TMC leader Chandrima Bhattacharya was allegedly present in the court, and all this happened while she was present. And on the other hand, that case was adjourned. On the other hand, today the case hearing is going on. We've heard SV Raju was speaking a while back, and he was arguing that Mamata Banerjee herself came and stole those documents. She took away the documents, the evidences, the digital documents, the papers, the files. Therefore, she needs to be a party in this case. Otherwise, this case or this petition has no value. On the other hand, Mamata Banerjee's lawyer Manika Guruswamy and also Kalyan Banerjee, they are arguing that it's the right of an individual to save their private data, and Mamata Banerjee went there to save protect the private data of the Trinamool Congress before the assembly elections. So assembly elections is something that is coming up, hence Mamata Banerjee thought that her data, her party data will be stolen by the ED and given to some other political party, therefore she went there. That is the argument. But this argument doesn't stand. In fact, SV Raju is saying that ED was conducting a regular investigative operation and then suddenly Mamata Banerjee barges in, steals away the files and goes away. ED doesn't even have those files right now. This hearing is happening in a closed door courtroom right now. SV Raju and Ms. Guruswamy is appearing online. On the other hand, there are lawyers present physically within the courtroom, including Kalyan Banerjee. Last time it happened that the whole proceeding was interrupted. The courtroom was barged in by individuals from outside. This time the hearing is happening right now as we speak in a closed door courtroom. ED is wanting Mamata Banerjee to be a part of this, to be a party in this petition, and the hearing is going on.
Right. Thank you so much, Kishala, for joining us from Kolkata, giving us a lowdown on what has happened and what was the build-up to that scene where Chief Minister, sitting Chief Minister of the state, comes and intervenes in an ongoing agency search operation and scoots away with the documents. We'll try and get Ridham Anand Bharadwaj, our legal affairs editor, over the phone for more on this. But it seems, friends, the arguments on the side of the Enforcement Directorate, led by Additional Solicitor General SV Raju, have been completed. And the main plea of ED is adjourn the hearings, not only of the ED plea, but of the Trinamool also. The ED has also questioned the maintainability of the Trinamool petition, given the fact that the search was at IPAC, and the petitioner should be the concerned party, which is in this case IPAC and its head Prateek Jain, and not Trinamool. Trinamool's limited plea is that their documents should be protected, to which ED has responded by saying, we don't have any documents, what needs protection is with the Mamata Banerjee, so let her protect and move on and let us do the job, or let us do our job. That was the argument put across by Additional Solicitor General on behalf of the Enforcement Directorate. And not Rhythm, but Shawan would be joining us live in a bit from the newsroom. And Manika Guruswamy is speaking counsel on behalf of Trinamool Congress. And she has snapped at ASG for calling Mamata Banerjee by name, saying, maintain some decorum as a law officer and not call the Chief Minister by her name. Now, big one. They are withdrawing the petition. Manika Guruswamy says we are not withdrawing. Okay, they're not withdrawing. Okay, I thought they're saying we are withdrawing. On the statement that we have not seized, the petition by TMC may be withdrawn. That's ASG Raju saying that the petition be withdrawn. But Guruswamy says we are not withdrawing. I said record statement and petition may be disposed of. Mr. Raju does not know difference. I am surprised. Sharp exchanges happening there between Manika Guruswamy and SV Raju there. Shawan joins us live for more on this. Shawan, why does the ED, in the first instance, want the case or their plea to be heard in the Supreme Court and not in the Calcutta High Court? They themselves went to the High Court first.
Well, it's also the case that the matter wasn't really heard in the Calcutta High Court. In fact, when there was an attempt that was basically made by the Government Council to basically make a mention in the court of the Chief Justice, the matter wasn't really taken up. And thereafter, when it came up for hearing, it was basically adjourned on the grounds that the courtroom was full. And immediately thereafter, that very evening, you've had the Enforcement Directorate from the National Capital writing an email to the Chief Justice seeking an urgent intervention in this matter. The matter wasn't really taken up. Now, the reason why the agency has been in a tearing hurry is because they believe that there is ample amount of time at the disposal of the Chief Minister to continue with the destruction of the evidence. And that's the reason why they're looking for an immediate intervention to take place. Not just that, they're also hoping that a direction would be passed by which they can prevent the Chief Minister from further interference in the hearing, in the entire investigation to be carried out. That basically explains why the Enforcement Directorate appears to be in a tearing hurry right now, hoping that the Supreme Court basically intervenes in the matter and perhaps refrains the Chief Minister from carrying on with what she's been doing.
Okay, Shravan, sorry to be interjecting, but viewers need to know that order is being dictated. Justice Ghosh has just quipped that even the clocks have stopped ticking, which means he meant that the arguments have gone on for too long. Now let's just get to the brass tacks and issue an order. The only prayer is for preservation of political confidential data and protection of the same from being circulated to any entity by the ED. The other prayers are not pressed. Learned Counsel for respondents submits nothing whatsoever was seized from the two premises. That's what the court says. That's what the ED has said. Mr. Deshratan Nigam joins us over the phone for more on this. He's a senior lawyer also. Mr. Nigam, the fact that there were two parallel proceedings in the Calcutta High Court and the Supreme Court on the same issue, and the ED decided that let the matter be heard before the Supreme Court and be adjourned in the High Court. What's the process like? Does it happen naturally that the High Court, in deference of the Supreme Court, would adjourn the matter till the Supreme Court opines on this?
Well, in fact, when the matter is sub judice in the Supreme Court, I think it is always prudential for the High Court to defer it, because Supreme Court being the highest law, interpreting authority. Therefore, once the Supreme Court is dealing with the matter, and the High Court generally defers it, otherwise there is a possibility of two contradicting orders. So I believe Supreme High Court deferring is the best way.
Right. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Nigam, for your perspective on this. We are seeing the order being instructed by the court. Mamata Goswami has said that both the councils have really thanked the court for. Both the councils have thanked the court for going through or sitting through the long arguments that the two had. Remember, this is still not on merits. This is just on the maintainability of the plea, and the lawyers can, of course, speak for 10 hours and still call it brief. That seems to be happening there. Shravan, coming back to you. What happens next? In all likelihood, the High Court would obviously defer and say the ED plea can be adjourned, and the matter goes to the Supreme Court. The Trinamool is satisfied that the ED has not seized any document. They don't have anything. So if there were any fears that the ED might still have had taken some documents and that they might become public, that issue rests. So in which case, ultimately, the theatre shifts from the Calcutta High Court to the Supreme Court.
Well, that would be the intention of the Enforcement Directorate deep down, because they would rather want the Apex Court to really intervene in the matter, hoping that there would be a stronger verdict really coming in, stronger directions really coming in from the Apex Court on this entire matter, because this also lays the precedence for any future confrontation. Because what really happens right now is that the Enforcement Directorate is completely crippled. Their entire investigation has come to a grinding halt. In fact, no further investigation has been carried out, no further searches have been carried out. And as I understand from the instructions that have been given to the Enforcement Directorate officers, is that not to proceed further unless the court basically intervenes, which means that there is enough time right now for the others to really cover their tracks. Let's not forget that we are talking about a money laundering case, and time is of the essence here, Abhishek. And somewhere down the line, it's also a battle lost for the enforcement directorate purely from the investigation point of view. Something that when I asked my sources in the enforcement directorate, they categorically denied when I asked them that doesn't this impact your investigation. I got a categorical no to that answer simply because they believe that when it comes to Hawala transactions, it is not just about IPAC. There are also those Angadiyas who have been under the scanner of the enforcement directorate. Not much focus was basically put on them because on the same very day when the investigation was being carried out, searches were being carried out in Kolkata, there were searches that were also being carried out in the national capital. As I understand, the target was essentially the Angadiyas or the Hawala operators here in the national capital. And in fact, some seizure has been made. It hasn't been disclosed by the enforcement directorate, but it seems that that is the other way, that they are basically trying to perhaps cover the tracks here, ensuring that they do not perhaps lose the entire case, because right now, with their entire investigation being busted by the Chief Minister here, it is going to have perhaps some sort of a short-term impact. But having said that, they had foreseen this, and somewhere down the line, they're basically trying to cover this up by ensuring that their investigation on the other side is basically tightened.
Shravan, interesting that you mentioned, before I let you go, one final question. You mentioned that it does not affect the investigation because obviously ED has so many tools, they are tracking money trail and whatnot. But there would have been some aspect of corroborative evidence that they could have picked up from the IPAC office, which now they say they couldn't do anything because before they could, Mamata Banerjee came and scooted with the documents. Now, let's assume that Mamata Banerjee has taken the documents, which were only of political nature, say candidates, etc. Is the ED case then, does the ED case then weaken in terms of their capacity to get that corroborative evidence from IPAC office in any manner, or they can still go carry out a search and get those rest of the material and still carry on with the probe that they were doing?
Abhishek, we are essentially dealing with Hawala transactions which are not essentially recorded. Having said that, IPAC, if at all they were basically involved in this Hawala transaction, there is very little that the enforcement directorate would have essentially found from the premises of IPAC. What they would be looking at is essentially the money that has been spent by IPAC during the campaigning. And they would be thereafter looking into whether at all this corresponds with the timing of the transactions that have taken place in Goa. So that is where the corroborative evidence really comes into picture. Yes, on that count, I would say that it does have, an impact on the investigation, because if at all IPAC perhaps wants to cover its track, that's the time that they've essentially got at this stage. But having said that, the enforcement directorate would have also looked into others, that is those who are basically involved in the transaction, those who have been identified, those companies have been already identified in the past. So they're essentially looking at from point A to point B. Point B has already been identified. They were looking at what was really happening at point A, that is basically with regards to IPAC's office and perhaps the data that they had at their disposal. Now, that would certainly be with regards to those who were present during the campaigning in Goa, those who were dealing with the finances in Goa, those who were dealing with the candidates in Goa. All of this would be part of the 360-degree investigation to be carried out. And in fact, as I was mentioning this, Abhishek, this is the question that I asked as a reporter who's been covering the central agencies, because, on the day when this happened, it almost looked like the case would have, perhaps collapsed. And a question that was also asked to them, why now? Why, just ahead of the elections? The answer to that has essentially been that it was only after the case that they were looking into, that is the liquor scam in which Aam Aadmi Party's name had basically surfaced. They had come across certain Angadiyas which they had basically examined. At that point in time, they realized that Anup Majhi's company was actually getting cash from another company called Shakambari Group, and from that group was getting the coal, and in exchange cash was being given to Anup Maji thereafter was passing this on to some associates and also affiliates of Trinamool Congress, and that's how the money essentially flowed. Right now, since it is Hawala transaction, there is very little that could have been proven here.
Right.
It isn't basically being stashing in offshore
Shawan,
accounts.
there is a breaking coming in. Court order and observation. Shawan, just stay with us. Kishalai, don't go, stay with us. Case filed by Trinamool Congress dismissed. Trinamool Congress filed a case demanding the return of political confidential documents. However, the ED told the court that the ED did not seize any information, so there is no reason whatsoever to keep the petition, and that's where the matter stands. The ED plea, or the order on the ED plea, is on the ground that the ED has filed a special leave petition with prayers which are almost identical. The matter is adjourned. Liberty to mention after the matter before the Supreme Court is disposed of. So essentially, ED gets its way, Shawan, Kishalai. ED gets its way. ED gets the matter adjourned in the Calcutta High Court, and the Trinamool petition, which sought a parallel proceeding, and they thought that they could get a toehold, has been dismissed because the ED says, we don't have anything. So what the petition is about, what protection they are seeking, we did not take any documents. If anything, it's the Chief Minister of Bengal, Mamata Banerjee, who has taken, like this green folder file, all the documents that were there of relevance at the IPAC. Kishalai, is that going to be seen as, I believe Shawan is still there with us? Okay, Shawan is with us. Shawan, ED gets its way. ED gets its way. I'm coming to you, Kishalai. Shawan, ED gets its way. The matter now comes to the Supreme Court. Is it going to come today, tomorrow, when?
Well, they had already sought for an intervention from the Supreme Court. We'll have to perhaps get a quick check from our desk right now to find out whether at all the matter has basically been moved and a date has been finalized. But one, if you look at what the court has essentially indicated right now, it is certainly battle half won for the enforcement directorate. One will have to really look into the court order, whether at all some directions have been given to the party itself, and particularly with regards to the role of the Chief Minister. Because right now, this is not only about dismissing the case that has been filed by the Trinamool Congress, because there are already 3 FIRs that have already been registered by the enforcement directorate, where, I beg your pardon, that is 3 FIRs registered by the West Bengal government against the enforcement directorate, where they are saying that they have looted political party items. And the fact of the matter, according to the West Bengal government, is that this is an attempt to derail their entire campaigning process in this state of West Bengal. This is a battle half won for the enforcement directorate. It only would matter if at all they can pursue their entire case without much political interference in this matter.
Right, Kishalai, coming to you now. Kishalai, does that give BJP a sense that, okay, fine, politically speaking, does that give Trinamool a sense that the ED has gotten away in the round 1 as 1-0?
Well, politically speaking, Abhishek, this is a win for, this is a lost game for the TMC in a way, because the TMC wanted a return case filed against the ED, and the TMC wanted whatever the ED has taken, that should be returned. But the ED has submitted that they did not take anything. Whatever was taken by Mamata Banerjee. It was stolen by Mamata Banerjee. Therefore, this case doesn't even stand a chance. Therefore, that case has been dismissed. On the other hand, in a positive note for the ED, the case filed by the ED will depend on the hearing in the Supreme Court. That is what the ED always wanted. But the TMC wanted this case to be dismissed as well. But that case by the ED is not dismissed. That will be heard in the Supreme Court. In the High Court, it is adjourned. On the other hand, the case filed by the TMC has been dismissed by the High Court. So it's, of course, for now, it's a lost game for the TMC. But they'll be probably trying again in the Supreme Court to file another case and to argue this matter. But in the High Court, this is a win for the ED. That is what the analysts are saying, Abhishek.
Yeah, absolutely, Kishalai. One more question before let me take this to Shawan. Shawan, now it's clear the matter comes before the Supreme Court, and there was this interesting bit that was mentioned in the ED arguments, which is that the Supreme Court is already seized of the issue of Section 17 of the PMLA, which is about the constitutionally mandated powers of the Enforcement Directorate to carry out search and seizure operations. So, was there a suggestion that this gets clubbed and the whole matter becomes one, which means that it's going to be a long winding case in the Supreme Court, or is it that the immediate plea of seeking protection insofar as the ED probe in this coal mining case is concerned, that's the only matter before the Supreme Court? Shravan, I was coming to you if you are getting me. My question was that is this going to be the one-off plea of the Enforcement Directorate now before the Supreme Court seeking protection for their probe in the coal mining case in Bengal?
Well, they are certainly looking for some sort of a protection here, because if you look at the petition that has been filed by the Enforcement Directorate that we have accessed, they've asked for a CBI investigation to take place. Now, if that does not come in from the Kolkata High Court, in all likelihood, they're going to press upon this aspect in the Supreme Court. They believe that this requires a further investigation. They believe that a Central Bureau of Investigation should step in to find out why exactly did the Chief Minister really intervene, because they say that this has got nothing to do with the political party. The investigation was about a political consultancy firm. So why exactly has the Chief Minister really thrown herself in the ring right now? And that something is perhaps the mandate of the Central Bureau of Investigation and not the Enforcement Directorate. The second important aspect would be that since this is an ongoing case, they wouldn't want any further hurdles, and that is the reason why they would prefer some sort of a direction really coming in from the court, preventing the Chief Minister from further interference. The third aspect is with regards to how Punch, the independent witnesses, have actually been threatened, allegedly threatened by the Chief Minister and her aides, where they have basically highlighted that not just the Chief Minister, her bureaucracy was also present, which includes the Chief Secretary, which includes the DGP of the state. And if at all this was with regards to the party affairs, how exactly has this become an affair of the government of West Bengal? That's the basic question, the moot question that is being asked by the Enforcement Directorate in the court. Why exactly is the government of West Bengal so very interested? So do they have any sort of vested interest in this? Because if at all, if you go by the claims that have been made by the Trinamool Congress, it is a party affair. If it is a party affair, then how is it that the Chief Secretary was basically involved in this?
Absolutely, and that's something which is going to come up before the Supreme Court. Thank you so much, Shravan and Kishalay from Kolkata newsroom for joining us. Shravan, of course, from our Noida newsroom. Move on to a big breaking coming in, which is that India has issued an advisory to its nationals amid escalating protests in Tehran in continuation of the advisory issued by the Government of India on January 5 and in view of the evolving situation in Iran. Indian nationals who are currently in Iran, be it students, pilgrims, business persons and tourists, are advised to leave Iran by available means of transport or any available means of transport, including commercial flights. It is reiterated that all Indian citizens and PIOs or persons of Indian origin should exercise due caution, avoid areas of protests or demonstrations, stay in contact with the Indian embassy in Iran, and monitor local media for any developments. That's a long advisory coming in, and in fact we have now asked our nationals to leave Iran. That's a big one, because till now it was just about caution. Now it is that if you can leave, please leave, because there seems to be some action building up on the side of the Americans. We remember President Trump's cryptic post last evening in which he said, "We are coming, help is coming," and which means that something is going to happen in Iran, a military action possibly, and for that we need to take care of our nationals, and that's why Ministry of External Affairs issuing that advisory. Short break coming up on the other side. Mamata versus ED in the Calcutta High Court.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा, सबका राजा आर्जोन मसाला। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार,
विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
MDH की देगी मीरज,
देगी मिर्च का तड़का, अंग अंग फड़का।
MDH की देगी मीरज।
The icy cold waters of the Atlantic Ocean are getting hot, and how? The United States, in an overnight operation, has seized 2 oil tankers, one in the North Atlantic near Iceland, the other one near the Caribbean Sea. The one caught or seized near Iceland is Russia flagged, and the one that's caught near the Caribbean Sea was apparently a shadow tanker, a dark tanker carrying Venezuelan oil to China. Now, both the tankers were carrying Venezuelan oil, which is sanctioned by the United States. There is an embargo. It's interesting and a little curious how the 2 tankers could leave such heavily guarded waters, which are guarded both by the US Coast Guard and the US Navy, and reach this far. In fact, in the case of the merchant vessel Marinera, which is Russia flagged and was caught near Iceland by the US Navy with help from the United Kingdom Navy, the US Navy was on the
अब छोलिया हो या लोबिया, सफेद चने या काले चने,
सब कुछ मजेदार बने।
मेरी चिमनी टूट जाएगी। What are you doing?
रानी, इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील TMT से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरी डे।
The icy cold waters of the Atlantic Ocean are getting hot, and how? The United States, in an overnight operation, has seized 2 oil tankers, one in the North Atlantic near Iceland, the other one near the Caribbean Sea. The one caught or seized near Iceland is Russia flagged, and the one that's caught near the Caribbean Sea was apparently a shadow tanker, a dark tanker carrying Venezuelan oil to China. Now, both the tankers were carrying Venezuelan oil, which is sanctioned by the United States. There is an embargo. It's interesting and a little curious how the 2 tankers could leave such heavily guarded waters, which are guarded both by the US Coast Guard and the US Navy, and reach this far. In fact, in the case of the merchant vessel Marinera, which is
from Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Calcutta High Court hears ED's petition, and that has now, the order has now come out in that, where the court order says the case filed in this case will now first go to the Supreme Court. After that, they can come here. It's a big boost for India. Defence Ministry likely to take up 3 lakh crore Rafale deal. BJP's Anamalai sends open offer to Vijay for a tie-up in Tamil Nadu, says must consolidate anti-DMK votes immediately. It's a historic day. Voyage INSV Kandiya, which departed from Port Bandar on 29 December, arrives in Muscat. Top Malaysian official is confronted with questions on Zakir Naik. There is zero response received. Good evening, welcome to Republic. A massive protest rally was held in Cargill, Ladakh to express solidarity with Iran's Supreme Leader Khamenei and the Islamic Republic of Iran, denouncing what participants called malicious media propaganda. Thousands of people, including religious scholars and residents, had gathered, marched from the Jama Masjid through key town areas with banners and slogans affirming unity with Iran. This comes as the situation in Iran remains critical, with reports suggesting leadership may be considering executing the detained protesters. I want to go across to Srinagar to Zeenat, who's joining us live from Srinagar. The situation in Iran is critical. What are you picking up now, Zeenat, in Ladakh?
This was a massive rally that was seen in Cargill town, and this rally started from the Jamia Masjid and culminated at the Lal Chowk, where both men and women and rather all walks of from life were seen protesting against Donald Trump, the US policy, and also against the Palestine. There were the pictures, the placards that were seen. People were holding, showing us support and the solidarity to Supreme Leader of Iran, Ayatollah Khamenei. So there had been a protest against the media, there have been protests against the Palestine, and also to counter the narrative against the present regime in what the America is doing in Iran. So the thousands of people have gathered, and there was a mass rally that was seen, and people were seen in placards, they were seen sloganeering against America and the Palestine. This also shows their strength of the solidarity, the unity for the Supreme Leader of Iran, Ayatollah Khamenei. So these protests have been continuing for some time from now. These were rallies that were seen earlier also, and today the biggest rally was seen from the Lal Chowk, from Jamia Masjid to Lal Chowk in Cargill town.
All right, thank you for giving us those details, Zeenat. We'll track the story closely. Speaking in Delhi today, Tamil Nadu BJP leader Anamalai invited Vijay for a possible tie-up, emphasizing that all anti-DMK votes must come together ahead of the assembly elections. He said DMK is now desperate as it already knows the election results will not be in its favor. It will be interesting to see how TVK responds, since Vijay had previously said that he does not ideologically align with the BJP.
So, what are your Pongal wishes first of all?
Madam, Thai month, the new Tamil month, which is starting tomorrow, it is a very important auspicious month because of the ascending nature of Lord Surya. And this is a day that brings all of us together. This is the day we pay our respects to our former friends. This is the day we give importance to Mother Nature. So everything combined together, we celebrate Pongal. And I hope and pray this coming Pongal year will be a great year for all of us, across all cultures, and together we all work together for Viksit Bharat 2047 in a spirit of togetherness. That is my wish and prayer, madam.
Much anticipated Tamil Nadu elections are just near the corner. The concerns around DMK's corruptions are increasing. What are the chances of BJP's comeback there in, or NDA's comeback for that matter, in Tamil Nadu?
Madam, it is very high. NDA will come to power for sure. The anti-incumbency of the DMK government is very, very high, sky high. And fortunately, unfortunately, Tamil Nadu is also seeing a four-corner fight as of now. Not in many Indian states we will see a four-corner fight. So four-corner fight in a past the post-democracy. Many people are concerned about the vote split, but I am not really concerned. Because our alliance has got the chemistry, our alliance has got a purpose, our alliance has got the experience. With the Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji coming to Tamil Nadu on 23rd January, right after Pongal, kicking off our the active poll preparation. From then on, we have about good 60-70 days in the ground level. Our booth workers are strong. For the last many months, our state president has gone on a yatra. The opposition leader has just finished his yatra. So cadres are working together with the single aim that DMK should be taken out of power. So I am very confident you will see a 2/3 number of seats being won by the NDA partners.
My last question around the Karur incident. We saw so many innocent lives lost there. CBI has summoned actor turned politician Vijay again on 19th January. He's clearly denying any part to be played, any role to be played in that incident. How do you see that?
Madam, there are two things. One is a moral responsibility, one is a legal responsibility. So from day one, we are very clear that legally it is the DMK government that is the main responsible for the whole mess that is created. The DMK government has arrested a couple of TVK functionaries also. Now, since the matter has gone to Supreme Court and later to CBI, a Supreme Court retired judge led CBI inquiry. Now it is for everybody to cooperate. In fact, the Tamil Nadu police senior officers are also getting summoned. The ADGP Law and Order, ADGP Intelligence, the Karur District SP, Collector, everybody CBI is summoning. The whole idea of CBI, what I understand from outside as a common man, is they want to get to the root of this issue. How the permission was sought, how it was given, why they given this plan, the nature of Vijay's movement on that particular day. So they want to go to the root of this issue. Let us wait for the CBI inquiry to get completed. All of us pray for the innocents who lost their life, and more importantly, the people who made sure that incident happened, they should not be spared. So justice has to operate in two parts. One part, justice should have a soft court. Whoever has died, we have to take care of them. People are already giving monetary compensation, including BJP. The second part, who is responsible, without even any fear or favor, you should go after them. We hope and pray CBI will do that.
Sharda is joining us live on the top focus story. Sharda, it's very clearly a aligning of certain parties before the elections in Tamil Nadu. What more are you picking up?
With just 4 months left for the Tamil Nadu elections to happen, which is like set in the month of April, now the NDA's alliance is getting stronger and stronger. Even day before yesterday, the AIADMK Party General Secretary Edappadi K. Palaniswamy said the new party is to join them very soon. However, now today's Anamalai open statement of asking Vijay to join the NDA alliance, while Vijay has constantly mentioned that BJP is their ideological enemy. Now, Anamalai opening the floor for the party that is any party that is anti-DMK to join together to dethrone them is something that's very shocking, because this was not a step that the NDA alliance looked forward for when they made an alliance with the BJP, AIADMK, because at that point of time, DMK was the main party and NDA, which is now the opposition, was set to become more stronger. Now, opening the floor for TVK makes a big question if Vijay will join NDA or not. Vijay from day one has been making it very clear that he will be the CM candidate of whatever alliance he forms, and even now the party general secretary is speaking to the media, constantly tells that the alliance talks are underway, and their only demand is that Vijay will be the chief ministerial candidate and the parties should follow under him. However, otherwise in the NDA it is Edappadi K. Palaniswamy representing the chief ministerial candidate, and now a big question is whether Vijay will join the NDA alliance or not. There's also another question that we have is that there's multiple talks at the backhand which is going between Congress and Vijay. As we see, even their own MPs and party strategist Praveen Chakrabarti had met Vijay last month, and now the ball lies in Vijay court whether he's going to take Congress or NDA.
All right, let's thank you for that, Sharda. Let's also listen into the reactions that are now coming in.
They are waiting. They are putting on pressure on all means to Vijay. Even the CBI investigation is continuing. Secondly, they are not giving certificate. The CBFC is not giving certificate to his movie. So, by all means, they are putting all sorts of pressure on Vijay. They know that ADMK is a useless party. So, they want Vijay also to be with them. That is, BJP is at anything. They will, even if somebody criticizes BJP, they will somehow capture them, use their powers, use the departments under their control to put pressure on these people and do that. The BJP is well known for that.
And we're getting the news that's coming in, the breaking news. The Supreme Court bench of Justice Mishra and Justice Pancholi are tomorrow going to hear the plea by the ED that's seeking details on the registration of the FIR against what has happened in West Bengal. They have stated that Mamata Banerjee, the West Bengal Chief Minister, tried to interfere with the IPAC probe and took documents in her custody. We're getting the details of that ED plea that had been filed, and now the big breaking news that's coming in right now. The Supreme Court will hear this petition tomorrow, alleging obstruction of its search of IPAC officers by West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee tomorrow. And this is very crucial that the Supreme Court bench will be tomorrow hearing this plea by the ED that is going to try and say that there was obstruction of the search of the IPAC offices by the West Bengal Chief Minister. Remember, just a few minutes ago, that hearing ended in the Kolkata High Court, where the courtroom heard both the sides arguing, where ASG SV Raju, appearing for the central government, has said this case is going to come up in the Supreme Court. However, we saw vehement opposition to this from the TMC. They said that their private data was being gone through. Those were arguments that were being made. Let me also tell our viewers at the same time, these are the visuals that we saw, unprecedented, where the sitting chief minister in West Bengal had stormed into an ED raid in Kolkata and removed certain evidence, which is some papers and electronic evidence. Files had been snatched and officers had been threatened. Against that, we saw an immediate moving of the Calcutta High Court by the ED officers, who said that their obstruction of justice had been done. Now, very critically, the ED plea will be in the Supreme Court tomorrow. The High Court has disposed of TMC's plea. The ED's pleas against Mamata listed before the Supreme Court tomorrow. Very crucial to see what is going to happen there, as the ASG SV Raju tried to tell the Calcutta High Court, and was successful in doing so, that this plea is listed before the Supreme Court. The other top focus at this hour, Pakistan is continuing with its notorious activities even after being massively jolted during Operation Sindoor. Multiple drones have been spotted along the LOC in Rajouri, though they have been shot down successfully by the Indian Army. Security forces are put on high alert as a precautionary measure.
सारी मस्जिद उड़ गई हैं? सारी भाई कोई है उते? नूर खान बेस में आगे गिरा है। ये अटैक हुआ है नूर खान बेस पे।
Pakistan, after being massively jolted during Operation Sindoor, has come up with another anti-India operation. Multiple drones have been spotted, especially in the Kera area of line of control. In response to the drone infiltration attempt, Indian Army foils these multiple drones of Pakistan in last 48 hours.
Indian Army has opened fire on the Pakistani drone that was attempting to sneak into the Indian territory along the line of control in the Rajouri district. Several times after they opened a series of rounds on the drone went back to the Pakistani territory, as being reported from the sources on ground. The defense sources have also confirmed that this is a repeated trend that has been witnessed all along the line of control, where Pakistan is trying to invade its drones into the Indian territory. Earlier also, day before yesterday, there was a major attempt where 5 Pakistani drones were spotted along the line of control as well as international border, and in the Nowshera sector, Indian Army opened the fire at the Pakistani drone and then pushed it back to the Pakistani territory.
Apart from this, search operations has also been launched to check for any airdrop weapons or contraband.
Jammu and Kashmir Police has launched a large-scale search operation in the border areas. These operations are to ensure that any activity from across the border is foiled. Right now, we are in the Araspura sector, where you will see that these large-scale search and the combing operations are underway. This is to rule out the possibility of triple threat from the Pakistan. The first and the foremost threat is of the Pakistani drone intrusion into the Indian territory that we have seen in last couple of days also. The intensified drone attempts from across the border. All the officials as well as the Jawans are hitting the grounds so as to ensure that any attempt from Pakistan is foiled. The second threat continues to be the ground infiltration, because we are in the first month of 2026. And here what happens, that the Pakistan, taking the advantage of the dense fog and the weather, they try to infiltrate terrorists using the ground infiltration into the Indian territory.
Now, issue has been raised with Pakistan's DGMO amid heightened border tensions and repeated drone sighting near LOC. In this ongoing border tensions, Chief of Army assessed the gravity of the event, stating that these are defensive drones, nothing else.
ये जो ड्रोन्स अभी हमने देखे हैं, ये बहुत छोटे ड्रोन्स हैं, ये लाइट ऑन करके आते हैं, ये बहुत हाइट पे नहीं जाते हैं और ये बहुत ही कम देखे गए हैं. जैसे 10 के आसपास तकरीबन 6 से 7 देखे गए थे, 11 और 12 तारीख को 2 से 3 देखे गए हैं। तो ये जो ड्रोन थे, ये मैं समझता हूं कि डिफेंसिव ड्रोन थे, जो कि ये ऊपर आके देखना चाहते हैं कि हमारे अगेंस्ट कोई कार्रवाई तो नहीं हो रही है। मैं ये मना नहीं कर रहा हूं, हो सकता है कि वो ये भी देखना चाहें कि कोई कहीं गैप तो नहीं है, इंडियन आर्मी में कोई ढिलाई तो नहीं है, कोई गैप वो जहां से वो टेररिस्ट वहां से भेज सके। तो मेरे ख्याल से उनको उसका नेगेटिव जवाब ही मिला होगा, उन्होंने देखा होगा कि आज की तारीख पे कोई ऐसी जगह नहीं है, कोई ऐसे गैप्स नहीं जहां से वो भेज सकें। लेकिन ये जरूर है, आज जो हमारी डीजीएमओ स्टॉक हुई है, उस स्टॉक में इसके बारे में जिक्र किया गया है और उनको बताया गया है कि ये हमें मंजूर नहीं है और कृपया करके इस पे लगाम लगाइए।
Since border tensions heated up, it needs to be seen how Indian Army will retaliate on this.
A top Malaysian defense official has remained silent after being asked 3 direct questions regarding controversial Islamic preacher, hate preacher Zakir Naik. Despite repeated queries on Malaysia's position and any potential action concerning Naik, no response has been offered.
Zakir Naik, Mr. Harun, given his alleged role in in inspiring the 2016 Dhaka cafe attackers, he has a permanent residency there in Malaysia. What are the steps that you're taking to curb such radicalization, such influences, and why there's no substantial action against him yet?
As you know, I represent the Ministry of Defence. This is under the ambit of our internal security, so I cannot comment on that.
My next question around the same thing. There are multiple charges against Zakir Naik here in India, like money laundering, and then there is hate speech, there is terror funding as well. How is Malaysia considering the extradition of Zakir Naik to India?
Again, this is under the ambit of the Ministry of Internal Security, where I represent the Ministry of Defence.
Chief of the Army Staff General Upendra Dwivedi said Operation Sindoor was a defining example of India's resolve and restraint, praising the moral strength and professionalism of the armed forces and the youth while highlighting the contribution of over 75,000 NCC cadets.
Operation Sindoor was a defining demonstration of India's resolve and restraint, a reflection of the moral strength and professional excellence of our armed forces and our youth alike. During Operation Sindoor, our over 75,000 NCC cadets volunteered across the country, working tirelessly in civil defense, hospital management, disaster relief, and community services. In 2025, 10 NCC cadets, 5 boys and 5 girls with an average age of just 19, successfully submitted Mount Everest, and I was privileged enough to interact with them during the flag off as well as the flag-in ceremony. This was not just a physical achievement, it was a message to the entire nation. With discipline and determination, there is no height we cannot reach. Drone training is the latest technology frontier in the NCC, moving beyond traditional training, and the same is meant to equip the cadets with skills for modern challenges.
And the country is celebrating the festival of Pongal, and on the spice occasion, Prime Minister Modi stopped by at the residence of Union Minister L. Murugan in Delhi, extended his greetings to the people. Prime Minister addressed the gathering and talked about the details about this festival and how it has to be celebrated.
Today marks the festival of Pongal, celebrated by Tamil community in India as well as across the globe. Prime Minister Modi also joined in the celebrations as he attended an event at the house of Union Minister L. Murugan and addressed the gathering there. The Prime Minister also recalled his visit to Tamil Nadu last year.
साथियों, वैसे मेरे लिए ये भी बहुत सुखद रहा है कि पिछले वर्ष मुझे तमिल संस्कृति से जुड़े कई कार्यक्रमों में शामिल होने का अवसर मिला। मैंने तमिलनाडु में 1000 साल पुराने गंगईकोंडा चोलापुरम मंदिर में पूजा की। वाराणसी में काशी तमिल संगमम के दौरान सांस्कृतिक एकता की ऊर्जा को पल पल उसके साथ जहां भी रहा मैं जुड़ा रहा, मैंने उसे महसूस किया। जब मैं पंबन ब्रिज के लोकार्पण के लिए रामेश्वरम गया था तो तमिल इतिहास की महानता का फिर एक बार साक्षी बना था।
Prime Minister Modi in his address emphasized how in Tamil culture farmers are considered the foundation of life.
दुनिया की लगभग सभी सभ्यताओं में फसलों से जुड़ा कोई न कोई उत्सव मनाया जाता है। तमिल संस्कृति में किसान को जीवन का आधार माना गया है। तिरुकुरल में कृषि और किसानों पर विस्तार से लिखा गया है। हमारे किसान राष्ट्र निर्माण के मजबूत साथी हैं। उनके प्रयासों से आत्मनिर्भर भारत अभियान को बहुत मजबूती मिल रही है। इस समय देश के अलग अलग हिस्सों में लोहड़ी, मकर संक्रांति, माघ बिहू और अन्य त्योहारों की भी उमंग है। मैं भारत और दुनिया भर में रहने वाले सभी तमिल भाई बहनों को पोंगल की और सभी पर्वों की बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं देता हूं।
Prime Minister said that Pongal is no longer just celebrated in India, but it is a global festival.
तमिल संस्कृति दुनिया की सबसे प्राचीन जीवित सभ्यताओं में से एक है। तमिल संस्कृति सदियों को जोड़ती है। वो इतिहास से सीखकर वर्तमान को आगे का रास्ता दिखाती है। इसी प्रेरणा से आज का भारत अपनी जड़ों से शक्ति लेकर नई संभावनाओं की ओर आगे बढ़ रहा है।
A Pongal celebration like never before in the heart of Delhi to strengthen the spirit of Ek Bharat, Shresth Bharat.
And coming up after a short break, after Calcutta High Court has adjourned the ED's plea, the Supreme Court is going to hear ED's plea tomorrow.
MDH की देगी मिर्च का तड़का, अंग अंग फड़का। MDH की देगी मिर्च।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ 8 मिनट में तैयार। क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
The icy cold waters of the Atlantic Ocean are getting hot, and how? The United States, in an overnight operation, has seized 2 oil tankers, one in the North Atlantic near Iceland, the other one near the Caribbean Sea. The one that's caught near the Caribbean Sea was apparently a shadow tanker, a dark tanker carrying Venezuelan oil to China. Now, both the tankers were carrying Venezuelan oil, which is sanctioned by the United States. There is an embargo. It's interesting and a little curious how the 2 tankers could leave such heavily guarded waters, which are guarded both by the US Coast Guard and the US Navy, and reached this far. In fact, in the case of the merchant vessel Marinera, which is Russia flagged and was caught near Iceland by the US Navy with help from the United Kingdom Navy, the US Navy was on the chase, hot on the chase of this vessel for about 2 weeks, which shows that it was completely tracked, and both the sides were aware, because even in the case of the Russians, a submarine was closely following or shadowing this tanker, which was
अब छोलिया हो या लोबिया, सफेद चने या काले चने,
सब कुछ मजेदार बने।
इसको घर पे लगाओगे तो शादी का तो पता नहीं, पर घर पक्का नहीं टूटेगा।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
पहाड़ों में एक हाइकिंग शिप भी बन सकती है।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरी डे।
The icy cold waters of the Atlantic Ocean are getting hot, and how? The United States, in an overnight operation, has seized 2 oil tankers, one in the North Atlantic near Iceland, the other one near the Caribbean Sea. The one caught or seized near Iceland is Russia flagged, and the one that's caught near the Caribbean Sea was apparently a shadow tanker, a dark tanker carrying Venezuelan oil to China. Now, both the tankers were carrying Venezuelan oil, which is sanctioned by the United States. There is an embargo. It's interesting and a little curious how the 2 tankers could leave such heavily guarded waters, which are guarded both by the US Coast Guard and the US Navy, and reach this far. In fact, in the case of the merchant vessel Marinera, which is Russia flagged and was caught near Iceland by the US Navy with help from the United Kingdom Navy, the US Navy was on the chase, hot on the chase of this vessel for about 2 weeks, which shows that it was completely tracked, and both the sides were aware, because even in the case of the Russians, a submarine was closely following or shadowing this tanker, which was carrying oil for Russia. Now, it's interesting why Russia, which itself has so much of energy, needs this oil from Venezuela, and that's where the whole geopolitics comes into play. Because remember, post the capture, abduction, kidnapping of Nicolas Maduro, the president of Venezuela, by the United States, the US has been building, President Trump himself leading from the front, a scenario where they want to really grab Greenland from Denmark. And so they really want to show that the security of North Atlantic is compromised and they need to be there, and that's why they need Greenland. So maybe it's because...
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
It's 4:30 and you're watching Live and Breaking with me, Shavin Sen. At top focus, the matter is now reached the Supreme Court. The fight between the Enforcement Directorate and Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee. All this and much more in this edition, but first let me take you through the headlines we are tracking at this hour. After Kolkata High Court adjourns the Enforcement Directorate's plea, Supreme Court to hear ED's plea tomorrow. Big defence boost for India. Defence Ministry likely to take up 3 lakh crore rupees Rafale deal. BJP's Anamalai sends open offer to Vijay for a tie-up in Tamil Nadu. Says must consolidate anti-DMK votes immediately. In a historic voyage, INSV Kandiya, which departed from Porbandar on 29th of December, arrives in Muscat. Top Malaysian official confronted with questions on Zakir Naik, zero response received. Indian Navy sailing vessel INSV Kandiya has arrived at Port Sultan Qaboos in Muscat after completing its maiden voyage from Gujarat. The ship, a recreation of a 5th century Indian vessel built using ancient stitching techniques, sailed from Porbandar on 29th of December and covered an ancient sea route of about 1,400 kilometers to reach Oman. India and Oman had earlier highlighted the voyage during Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Muscat in December 2025, describing it as a symbol of their shared maritime traditions. The two sides also welcomed a memorandum of understanding on maritime heritage and museums, enabling cooperation through joint exhibitions and research. INSV Kandiya is stitched using coconut coir rope, natural fiber and resin, reviving a 2,000-year-old shipbuilding tradition once used by Indian mariners who navigated the Indian Ocean with monsoon winds and celestial knowledge. Earlier today, the designer of the ship spoke to us. In fact, Sanjeev Sanyal, who's been at the helm of the affairs as far as INSV Kandiya is concerned, did actually document the 18-day travel that has taken place from Porbandar to Muscat, talking about various challenges that they've had to face while on their way and also crossing some of the most congested routes, maritime routes that was taken by INSV Kandiya. In fact, this is what Sanjeev Sanyal had to tell us earlier today.
About 15 days on board, sailing with the winds. How's been the experience?
It's been great. It's actually 18 days. Today is the 18th day. We are lining up now for the entry, the ceremonial entry into Muscat Harbour, the Sultan Qaboos Harbour. Our Omani friends have put on a big show. They've got a whole bunch of small fishing vessels lined up, traditional vessels, and a big event on the other side. So we are lining up for entry, ceremonial entry. We've got our sails up, and it's quite a great day.
We're getting these pictures, and these are fantastic pictures, Sanjeev, and we can imagine the kind of excitement that must have been there. But was the journey equally exciting, or there were some moments where you thought that maybe you should not have taken this enterprise?
Not at all. I've been working on this project for over 5 years. So, went through the concept to design to actually building the ship, then testing its seaworthiness, training on it, and then, of course, the voyage over the last 18 days to Muscat from Porbandar. It's been exhilarating. Of course, these are tough conditions. It doesn't have too many modern amenities on it. So, it's running purely on wind. But it's not just wind. It's the sails are of an ancient square sail design. It's not doesn't have a nail on it. The hull is completely stitched together with coil rope. It uses steering oars and all such things. So we do have some modern navigation and a few communication stuff, but other than that, it's mostly functioning on technology from 1,500 years ago.
Oh, what were the objectives like? I mean, you have, as you said, worked on this project for 5 years. So there must have been some objective to be, rebuilding a, as you call, stitched ship and set sail from Gujarat to Oman to sort of retrace the ancient times. But there must have been some very modern objectives also in your mind when you conceived it. Yeah, and of course, the Indian Navy got involved.
Yeah, the objective is, of course, to show that, India has a great maritime past. Very often the way Indian history is told, our rich maritime history and traditions are not talked about very much. But in fact, we have one of the richest maritime histories of any country in the world going back to the Harappan period. So one of the ideas was to build a ship from that time, sail it, and sort of rekindle and both an interest in history as well as a spirit of risk-taking and adventure in the next generation. And of course, once a concept name thrown together, the Ministry of Culture was very kind to support it. The Navy took up the project to try and build this. There's a shipbuilder, Hodi, which agreed to take on the project. And of course, through the course of this last few years, we have had help from the Ministry of Shipping, the Ministry of External Affairs, and so on. And so here we are in Muscat.
Well, as I can sense from this conversation, Sanjeev Sanyal, there are cultural takeaways, there are maritime takeaways, there are historical takeaways, even civilizational takeaways. Are there some geostrategic takeaways also?
Well, I mean, Oman is a old friend. So we have been trading with them for the last 5,000 years. And, this voyage was announced about 2 years ago when His Majesty the Sultan of Oman had visited India, and the joint statement between him and the Honorable Prime Minister of India, this joint communique had mentioned this voyage. So here we are fulfilling that promise and meeting old friends and renewing our friendship.
Since you travelled from Gujarat, Sanjeev, there is a Muscati market in Ahmedabad famous for its very fine cloth, and it's been there from medieval times. So that historical connect is there, which you have sort of tried to re-establish. My last question to you, since you mentioned that this is for the coming generation so that they can draw inspiration from the past and look forward. You have written a book on the history of oceans. Are you going to follow it up with a book on this project that you worked on for 5 years?
Well, lots of material, but let me see. As with anything, I need some time and perspective before one can write these things down. Because right now I'm still in the heat of the voyage itself. Remember, I'm entering Muscat. I still have to go through till I dock, and then we have various events as well lined up. So I will think about this after a little while. But it's been quite an adventure.
Well, absolutely quite an adventure. And you are while you are still on board, we are looking at these pictures coming from the coast and the harbour, and you are coming in. And hopefully we will come back to you in a bit after you have been received.
We are right now turning around.
Yeah.
So we are now hitched up to an Indian Navy ship that will tow us in. So now we will turn around and make the ceremonial entry.
Right. So we are in fact getting pictures from that ceremonial welcome also that you're going to get at the port. But thank you so much, Sanjeev Sanyal, for joining us and having this conversation after 18 days on the high seas in a sailboat without an engine. We'll, of course, come back to this conversation once you're back. Thank you so much for joining us.
In fact, we are shifting focus now to some breaking news coming in. The repercussions of what's really happening in Iran. It seems a massive protest rally is being held in Cargill, Ladakh, to express solidarity with Iran's supreme leader, Khamenei, and the Islamic Republic of Iran denouncing what participants called malicious media propaganda. Thousands of people, including religious scholars and residents, marched from Jamia Masjid through key town areas with banners and slogans reaffirming unity with Iran's leadership. This comes as the situation in Iran remains extremely critical, with reports now suggesting that the leadership may even be considering executing detained protesters. Now, these are some reports that are essentially coming in of the backlash that's taken place. But it seems here in India, those who are in favor of the current regime in Iran are now out on the streets protesting against what's really happening on the ground. And some believe that this is a Western propaganda that is being peddled by those with vested interests. Zeerath, in fact, is joining us on this broadcast. Zeerath, help us understand the background of the protests that are essentially taking place, given the fact that there is an ideological, not difference, rather an ideological support that has been extended here. Give us a sense of what's really happening on the ground. Why exactly are we really looking at the pro-regime protests taking place in Cargill?
See, as far as the protests or the massive rally in Iran is concerned, we are seeing the people in huge number, the massive rally is taking place here in the Cargill.
We seem to have lost that line with Zenith. We'll try and at least get her on the
rally
phone line.
that is taking place is in the Cargill, and it is from the Jamia Masjid to the Lal Chowk, where the protesters are carrying the flags. The Muslim leader, Islamic leader of Iran, that is Sayyid Ali Khamenei, and this is also to counter the anti-regime protests or the situation that is being going on in the Tehran. So we are seeing the men and women coming from all walks of life. In fact, they're holding the placards where you see the picture of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei and also the flags of Iran that are being waved by the supporters. This is the support that the supreme leader of Iran is generating from across the board. We are seeing these kind of protests that are continuing in the Cargill. The protests were seen in the Cargill town, where you see the massive rallies which is being participated by men and women, even the children carrying the flags of the Iran, showing the support to Ali Khamenei. Although there has been also the sloganeering that has been taking place in Cargill, it is against the US regime, against the Palestine, and also what is happening in Iran, and for which they blame the America and the Palestine directly interfering in Iran. So this is a kind of a massive support that is being generated from the Cargill town of Ladakh, where we see the massive rallies and also the placard that display the picture of Supreme Leader of Iran.
One quick question before I let you go, Zenith, with regards to what's the response really coming in from the administration, because the message that is being sent across, at least with these protests that are taking place, of complete support being extended to the Iranian leadership.
Absolutely. This is a complete support that is being provided from the all corners we see, and we are expecting that these kind of protests will also commence after the post-Friday prayers, this time in Kashmir as well, because majority of the places, be it the central Kashmir's Badgam area or the Shia pockets, where the administration has already geared up here in the Kashmir Valley to see that such kind of protest or any law and order situation do not erupt, because the kind of visuals that are coming in from the different places or the states, the J&K administration is also on the tender hooks to see that nothing goes untoward or there is no violation of law and order on the ground, because now these kind of protests were coming in from the Cargill. These kind of protests were seen also on post-Friday prayers in Cargill and also in some pockets of Dras, because if you see the Cargill, it has the majority of the Shia sect, the population of the Shia sect that is generating a support for the Islamic leader of Iran, the Sayyid Ali Khamenei. So you see that the people are ready to sacrifice their lives, because that is what the sloganeering was going on, that they are ready to sacrifice their kith and kin for the supreme leader. And to see the kind of flags and that they were waving and go to hell for America. The sloganeering was going on. They were protesting against the American regime, protesting against the Palestine, and many of their religious leaders from the Cargill were also part of the demonstrations that took place today in the Cargill town.
Thank you very much, Zenith, for getting us the latest from Cargill. The situation only escalating right now in Cargill, with more and more people coming out on the streets in support of the regime. Getting you another quick report. This is with regards to the response coming in from the Chief of the Army Staff General Upendra Dwivedi, who said that Operation Sindoor was a defining example of how India's resolve and restraint, and also praising the moral strength and the professionalism of the Indian Armed Forces as well as the youth, while highlighting the contribution of over 75,000 NCC cadets.
Operation Sindoor was a defining demonstration of India's resolve and restraint, a reflection of the moral strength and professional excellence of our armed forces and our youth alike. During Operation Sindoor, our over 75,000 NCC cadets volunteered across the country, working tirelessly in civil defense, hospital management, disaster relief, and community services. In 2025, 10 NCC cadets, 5 boys and 5 girls with an average age of just 19, successfully submitted Mount Everest, and I was privileged enough to interact with them during the flag off as well as the flag-in ceremony. This was not just a physical achievement, it was a message to the entire nation. With discipline and determination, there is no height we cannot reach. Drone training is the latest technology frontier in the NCC, moving beyond traditional training, and the same is meant to equip the cadets with skills for modern challenges.
Well, an interview that has now had a ripple effect. BJP leader Anamalai, who spoke to us earlier today in the national capital, where he openly said that he's inviting Vijay for a possible tie-up, emphasizing that all anti-DMK votes must come together ahead of the assembly elections. Now, he said that the DMK is now desperate as it already knows that the election results will not be in favor. And it will be interesting to see how TVK responds, since Vijay has previously said that he does not ideologically align with the BJP. Now, there is a response that has come in from the DMK government, but first listen in to what Anamalai had to tell us earlier today.
So, what are your Pongal wishes first of all?
Madam, Thai month, the new Tamil month, which is starting tomorrow, day 1, it is a very important auspicious month because of the ascending nature of Lord Surya. And this is a day that brings all of us together. This is the day we pay our respects to our former friends. This is the day we give importance to Mother Nature. So everything combined together, we celebrate Pongal. And I hope and pray this coming Pongal year will be a great year for all of us across all cultures. And together, we all work together for Viksit Bharat 2047 in a spirit of togetherness. That is my wish and prayer, madam.
Much anticipated Tamil Nadu elections are just near the corner. The concerns around DMK's corruptions are increasing. What are the chances of BJP's comeback there or NDA's comeback for that matter in Tamil Nadu?
It is very high. NDA will come to power for sure. The anti-incumbency of the DMK government is very, very high, sky high. And fortunately, unfortunately, Tamil Nadu is also seeing a 4-corner fight as of now. Not in many Indian states we will see a 4-corner fight. So 4-corner fight in a past the post democracy. Many people are concerned about the vote split, but I am not really concerned because our alliance has got the chemistry, our alliance has got a purpose, our alliance has got the experience. With the Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji coming to Tamil Nadu on 23rd January, right after Pongal, kicking off our the active poll preparation. From then on, we have about good 60-70 days in the ground level. Our booth workers are strong. For the last many months, our state president has gone on a yatra. The opposition leader has just finished his yatra. So cadres are working together with the single aim that DMK should be taken out of power. So I am very confident you will see a 2/3 number of seats being won by the NDA partners.
My last question around the Karur incident. We saw so many innocent lives lost there. CBI has summoned actor turned politician Vijay again on 19th January. He's clearly denying any part to be played, any role to be played in that incident. How do you see that?
Madam, there are two things. One is a moral responsibility, one is a legal responsibility. So from day one, we are very clear that legally it is the DMK government that is the main responsible for the whole mess that is created. The DMK government has arrested a couple of TVK functionaries also. Now, since the matter has gone to Supreme Court and later to CBI, a Supreme Court retired judge led CBI inquiry. Now it is for everybody to cooperate. In fact, the Tamil Nadu police senior officers are also getting summoned. The ADGP Law and Order, ADGP Intelligence, the Karur District SP, Collector, everybody CBI is summoning. The whole idea of CBI, what I understand from outside as a common man, is they want to get to the root of this issue. How the permission was sought, how it was given, why they given this plan, the nature of Vijay's movement on that particular day. So they want to go to the root of this issue. Let us wait for the CBI inquiry to get completed. All of us pray for the innocents who lost their life, and more importantly, the people who made sure that incident happened, they should not be spared. So justice has to operate in two parts. One part, justice should have a soft court. Whoever has died, we have to take care of them. People are already giving monetary compensation, including BJP. The second part, who is responsible, without even any fear or favor, you should go after them. We hope and pray CBI will do that.
Well, this approach of BJP leader Anamalai hasn't really gone down well with the DMK. In fact, in its first response to Republic's Anamalai interview, in fact, this is what the DMK had to say. DMK is now alleging that the BJP does this typically before every election, pressurizes those who they see as a direct threat. They say that Vijay is a threat to the centre, is a threat to the BJP in Tamil Nadu, and that is the reason why they're being pressurized. Vijay is being pressurized by the centre is what DMK's Mr. Ilan Govan had to say. This is what he said a short while back.
They are waiting. They are putting on pressure on all means to Vijay. Even the CBI investigation is continuing. Secondly, they are not giving certificate. The CBFC is not giving certificate to his movie. So, by all means, they are putting all sorts of pressure on Vijay. They know that ADMK is a useless party. So, they want Vijay also to be with them. That is, BJP is at anything. They will, even if somebody criticizes BJP, they will somehow capture them, use their powers, use the departments under their control to put pressure on these people and do that. The BJP is well known for that. They are waiting. They are putting on pressure on all means to Vijay. Even the CBI investigation is continuing. Secondly, they are not giving the CBFC is not giving certificate to his movie. So, by all means, they are putting all sorts of pressure on Vijay. They know that ADMK is a useless party. So, they want Vijay also to be with them. That is, BJP is at anything. They will, even if somebody criticizes BJP, they will somehow capture them, use their powers, use the departments under their control to put pressure on these people and
Well, the country is celebrating the festival of Pongal, and on this pious occasion, Prime Minister Narendra Modi stopped by at the residence of Union Minister L. Murugan in the national capital and extended his greetings to the people. This is what the Prime Minister had to say earlier today.
Today marks the festival of Pongal, celebrated by Tamil community in India as well as across the globe. Prime Minister Modi also joined in the celebrations as he attended an event at the house of Union Minister L. Murugan and addressed the gathering there. The Prime Minister also recalled his visit to Tamil Nadu last year.
साथियों, वैसे मेरे लिए ये भी बहुत सुखद रहा है कि पिछले वर्ष मुझे तमिल संस्कृति से जुड़े कई कार्यक्रमों में शामिल होने का अवसर मिला। मैंने तमिलनाडु में 1000 साल पुराने गंगईकोंडा चोलापुरम मंदिर में पूजा की। वाराणसी में काशी तमिल संगमम के दौरान सांस्कृतिक एकता की ऊर्जा को पल पल उसके साथ जहां भी रहा मैं जुड़ा रहा, मैंने उसे महसूस किया। जब मैं पंबन ब्रिज के लोकार्पण के लिए रामेश्वरम गया था तो तमिल इतिहास की महानता का फिर एक बार साक्षी बना था।
Prime Minister Modi in his address emphasized how in Tamil culture farmers are considered the foundation of life.
दुनिया की लगभग सभी सभ्यताओं में फसलों से जुड़ा कोई न कोई उत्सव मनाया जाता है। तमिल संस्कृति में किसान को जीवन का आधार माना गया है। तिरुकुरल में कृषि और किसानों पर विस्तार से लिखा गया है। हमारे किसान राष्ट्र निर्माण के मजबूत साथी हैं।
It's a chilling case of abduction and abuse involving the park grooming gang that has come to light from London. It's on camera, the rescue of a 14-year-old Sikh girl. We'll tell you details about that at 7:30 p.m. We'll also tell you the controversy that has hit the badminton tournament in New Delhi, India Open, as a Denmark shuttler quits the tournament citing AQI and unhygienic conditions. Also on the show, we get you the details of the historic voyage that has been completed by the stitched vessel INSV Kandiya. All that and more on Trending Tonight with me, Rakshita.
आधे बाउल दही में 4 चम्मच MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला डाला, स्टर करो, पुदीना चटनी तैयार। MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला। MDH थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, ये तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मम्मा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरी राजा, राजा और मसाला।
The icy cold waters of the Atlantic Ocean are getting hot, and how? The United States, in an overnight operation, has seized 2 oil tankers, one in the North Atlantic near Iceland, the other one near the Caribbean Sea. The one caught or seized near Iceland is Russia flagged, and the one that's caught near the Caribbean Sea was apparently a shadow tanker, a dark tanker carrying Venezuelan oil to China. Now both
MDH की हल्दी मिर्ची धनिया करे कमाल, ये रंग दे, ये खुशबू दे, ये तीखा, ये कम पड़े, क्या निराला MDH मसाला।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता, उबालो, मिलाओ और खाओ, 8 मिनट में तैयार। क्या टेस्ट है, सबका राजा हार्डवेयर मसाला।
The icy cold waters of the Atlantic Ocean are getting hot, and how? The United States, in an overnight operation, has seized 2 oil tankers, one in the North Atlantic near Iceland, the other one near the Caribbean Sea. The one caught or seized near Iceland is Russia flagged, and the one that's caught near the Caribbean Sea was apparently a shadow tanker, a dark tanker carrying Venezuelan oil to China. Now, both the tankers were carrying Venezuelan oil, which is sanctioned by the United States. There is an embargo. It's interesting and a little curious how the 2 tankers could leave such heavily guarded waters, which are guarded both by the US Coast Guard and
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
दादी के हाथों का जादू और खुशबू से महकता घर, माँ की मुस्कुराहट और खाने की सुगंध। MDH गरम मसाला,
क्योंकि हर रिश्ता है स्वाद से जुड़ा।
Not there. मेरा काउंटर टॉप टूट जाएगा। मेरी चिमनी टूट जाएगी। What are you doing?
रानी, इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील TMT से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, ये तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मम्मा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरी राजा, राजा और मसाला।
The icy cold waters of the Atlantic Ocean are getting hot, and how? The United States, in an overnight operation has seized 2 oil tankers, one in the North Atlantic near Iceland, the other one near the Caribbean Sea. The one caught or seized near Iceland is Russia flagged, and the one that's caught near the Caribbean Sea was apparently a shadow tanker, a dark tanker carrying Venezuelan oil to China. Now, both the tankers were carrying Venezuelan oil, which is sanctioned by the United States. There is an embargo. It's interesting and a little curious how the 2 tankers could leave such heavily guarded waters, which are guarded both by the US Coast Guard and the US Navy, and reach this far. In fact, in the case of the merchant vessel Marinera, which is Russia flagged and was caught near Iceland by the US Navy with help from the United Kingdom Navy, the US Navy was on the chase, hot on the chase of this vessel for about 2 weeks, which shows that it was completely tracked, and both the sides were aware.
After Calcutta High Court adjourns ED's plea, the Supreme Court is going to hear the case tomorrow. Big defence boost for India. Defence Ministry likely to take up 3 lakh crore Rafale deal. BJP's Anamalai sends open offer to Vijay for a tie-up in Tamil Nadu, says must consolidate anti-DMK votes. An historic voyage, INSV Kandiya, which departed from Porbandar on 29 December, arrives in Muscat. Top Malaysian official confronted with questions on Zakir Naik, zero response received. And pro-Khamenei protest erupts in Cargill, Ladakh. Protesters condemn America's interference in Iran's internal matters. And there's breaking news coming in, viewers. US orders some personnel to leave its Al Uaid Air Base in Qatar by Wednesday evening. The US Embassy in Doha had no immediate comment, and Qatar's Ministry of Foreign Affairs did not immediately respond to the request for a confirmation or comment. Al Uaid is the Middle East's largest US base, housing around 10,000 troops. Now we're getting to know the details at American. Is there going to be Trump declaring help on the way for Iran? US asks the personnel to leave the military base in Qatar. This is the big breaking news that we are tracking at this hour, that the military base in Qatar, the US has asked its troops to leave that. And like we're telling you, it's the Middle East's largest US base that has now been told to be, the US has now said that that troop has now been told to leave. It's very, very clear that there is some issue that's happening between there is that some US has asked the personnel to leave the military base in Qatar, and it's also Trump possibly declaring the help on the way for Iran issue. The death toll, remember, in Iran has topped 2,500 as the US is eyeing an intervention. I would like to go across to my colleague Abhishek Kapoor, senior executive editor on the Top Focus story. Amid the unrest in Iran, the United States tells the staff to leave the base. This is also coming after Qatar had stated that US interference in Iran will not be seen fine, and US now asks them to leave this. Remember, the US military had a long-standing partnership earlier in Qatar. Now, Qatar had stated that they would not see this, but we're also being told that some personnel, the US military's Al Uaid Qatar, were advised to leave by Wednesday. And Iran had warned regional countries it would strike US bases on their soil if Washington attacks Iran. And that's the real focus right now, even as residents in Cargill have staged a massive protest against America's interference in Iran's internal matters, expressing strong solidarity with the Islamic Republic of Iran. Thousands of people have gathered to demonstrate unity, condemn the policies of United States and Israel, raising slogans against foreign intervention and in support of Iran's sovereignty. Zeenat joins us live from Srinagar on the story. Zeenat, it's very clear that these Khamenei protests are happening as residents in Cargill have gathered to say that US intervention in Iran is not welcome.
Absolutely, this is quite clear from the visuals that we show on the screen. These are the visuals from the Cargill town in Ladakh, where we see the thousands of Shia protesters. They have hit the streets carrying the placards and displaying the pictures of Sayyid Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran, showing the support, a kind of a campaign that is going on in Cargill, and they are also denouncing the interference coming in from US. So that is why the sloganing against the US regime was going on. They were sloganing against the Palestine. The protesters were showing the support for Ayatollah Khamenei, Ali Khamenei, I beg your pardon, supreme leader of Iran. We see the people from all, especially from the Shia community, the women, the children, the old age people have gathered here. This was a protest that took place from the Jamia Masjid to Lal Chowk in Cargill town, where you also see that they have these Iranian flags in their hand. The flags that fluttering in the air shows their complete support for the supreme leader of Iran, Sayyid Ali Khamenei. So there were also the sloganing against the United States of America. You can see a coffin that was laid on the ground, which was covered with the American flag, where it was written, "Go to hell, America." That tells you that they were also trying to counter the direct interference that is coming in from the US at present. So the thousands of Shia leaders, the main leaders, those who are more into the religious business, they also hit the roads in the support of Ali Khamenei. This is the visual that coming in from the Cargill tells you that the support that the supreme leader is getting from across the globe.
Thank you for giving us those details, Zeenat. Our top focus story, viewers, Iran is witnessing continuous intense protests since many days, where more than 2,000 protesters had already been killed. The interference by US has made their time even tougher. The situation started to get worse after President of United States Trump issued warnings stating that the US will take very strong action if protesters are hanged, and asked protesters to continue their protest, following which Iran has written a letter to United Nations Security Council.
After continuous protests going on in Iran, it is reportedly set to execute its first protester today, following the mass arrest in connection with the widespread anti-regime demonstrations. Reacting to this, Trump warned Iran to take military action if any of the protesters are hanged. Further, Trump's fiery comment, "Continue protesting and take over your institutions," has brought him into the headline again.
Ideally, you'd like to see it, but what we want to see is we don't want to see people killed, and we want to see a little bit of freedom for these people. These people have been living in hell for a long time. That used to be a hell of a country. I have friends that used to invest in Iran, and they did well with their investments. It was a great place. The people were great. Even the leadership was good. And now it's living in hell.
Following this huge comment, Iran has appealed to United Nations Security Council and to the UN Secretary General, where Iran accused US of inciting violence while also pointing out the interference in internal affairs of Iran. The letter also mentioned the threatening military action and the violation of core principles of international law. Meanwhile, Tehran has responded sharply to the comments made by Trump. Tehran stated that the comments encourage unrest, while also suggesting external support for attempts to seize state institutions. But Iranian officials argued that the external support amounts to an explicit threat against the country's sovereignty and national security. As tensions escalate due to the intensifying protests and rising diplomatic tensions, Iran now stands at critical crossroads. The world is watching closely on how the standoff will unfold further.
Shifting focus to West Bengal, the Farakka BDO office was vandalized in the presence of Trinamool MLA Monirul Islam. A protest was held against the SIR process and the BDO office was vandalized. Not the first time we are seeing such visuals as you're seeing on the screen, but we stay with those visuals where the BDO office was vandalized. Once again, it's SIR, once again, it's West Bengal, and this protest that's only getting worse. We're showing you Republic Bangla sister channels exclusive visuals that we're picking up there. The SIR protest is heating up. The block development officers' place has been vandalized. The BDO is block development officer. Farakka in West Bengal is the place where there is, and this entire place has been vandalized. And the issue is the SIR process, which the West Bengal government has been against. Let me go across to Kishlay joining us on the phone line. Kishlay, we are seeing once again this process has been, the entire office has been vandalized. What are the details that you are picking up?
Well, in this case, the visuals which are on air right now, TMC MLA Monirul Islam, along with his supporters, TMC Gundas, TMC supporters, what can I call them if they're vandalizing a public property? They're attacking a public property, they're attacking the BDO office in Farakka. They're saying that the BDO is not listening to their demands or their arguments, and they want an alteration to the process in which SIR is done in this particular area. They're saying that SIR is actually used to remove the names of eligible candidates or eligible voters. Therefore, they want the BDO to take action. That the BDO is not taking action, therefore they are in fact taking action by vandalizing the entire office. Look at the way in which they are throwing chairs, they are breaking tables, glasses, doors, windows, and causing damage to the public property built by the taxes of the public of West Bengal, public of this country, people of this country, and the TMC Gundas under the leadership of TMC MLA Monirul Islam is creating a ruckus, creating a havoc at the BDO office in Farakka. This exposes how Mamata Banerjee has been herself insinuating and instigating such attacks against public servants and of government officials. She has previously said that if any of the public servants or officials under the instruction of the BJP would hamper the process of SIR by removing names which are of eligible candidates, then such action should be taken against them. Now we are seeing violence erupting and instigation is coming from the highest authority.
Thank you, Kishlay, for giving us those details. We continue tracking the developments and how the West Bengal government is reacting to the SIR, a democratically correct, proven process. Viewers, the other top focus, the Chief of the Army Staff, General Upendra Dwivedi, said Operation Sindoor was a defining example of India's resolve and restraint, praising the moral strength and professionalism of the armed forces and the youth. He highlighted the contribution of over 75,000 NCC cadets.
Operation Sindoor was a defining demonstration of India's resolve and restraint, a reflection of the moral strength and professional excellence of our armed forces and our youth alike. During Operation Sindoor, our over 75,000 NCC cadets volunteered across the country, working tirelessly in civil defense, hospital management, disaster relief, and community services. In 2025, 10 NCC cadets, 5 boys and 5 girls with an average age of just 19, successfully submitted Mount Everest, and I was privileged enough to interact with them during the flag off as well as the flag-in ceremony. This was not just a physical achievement, it was a message to the entire nation. With discipline and determination, there is no height we cannot reach. Drone training is the latest technology frontier in the NCC, moving beyond traditional training, and the same is meant to equip the cadets with skills for modern challenges.
The country is celebrating Pongal, and on this occasion, Prime Minister Modi stopped by the residence of Union Minister L. Murugan in Delhi, extended his greetings to the people. He addressed the gathering.
Today marks the festival of Pongal, celebrated by Tamil community in India as well as across the globe. Prime Minister Modi also joined in the celebrations as he attended an event at the house of Union Minister L. Murugan and addressed the gathering there. The Prime Minister also recalled his visit to Tamil Nadu last year.
साथियों, वैसे मेरे लिए ये भी बहुत सुखद रहा है कि पिछले वर्ष मुझे तमिल संस्कृति से जुड़े कई कार्यक्रमों में शामिल होने का अवसर मिला। मैंने तमिलनाडु में 1000 साल पुराने गंगईकोंडा चोलापुरम मंदिर में पूजा की। वाराणसी में काशी तमिल संगमम के दौरान सांस्कृतिक एकता की ऊर्जा को पल पल उसके साथ जहां भी रहा मैं जुड़ा रहा, मैंने उसे महसूस किया। जब मैं पंबन ब्रिज के लोकार्पण के लिए रामेश्वरम गया था तो तमिल इतिहास की महानता का फिर एक बार साक्षी बना था।
Prime Minister Modi in his address emphasized how in Tamil culture farmers are considered the foundation of life.
दुनिया की लगभग सभी सभ्यताओं में फसलों से जुड़ा कोई न कोई उत्सव मनाया जाता है। तमिल संस्कृति में किसान को जीवन का आधार माना गया है। तिरुकुरल में कृषि और किसानों पर विस्तार से लिखा गया है। हमारे किसान राष्ट्र निर्माण के मजबूत साथी हैं। उनके प्रयासों से आत्मनिर्भर भारत अभियान को बहुत मजबूती मिल रही है। इस समय देश के अलग अलग हिस्सों में लोहड़ी, मकर संक्रांति, माघ बिहू और अन्य त्योहारों की भी उमंग है। मैं भारत और दुनिया भर में रहने वाले सभी तमिल भाई बहनों को पोंगल की और सभी पर्वों की बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं देता हूं।
Prime Minister said that Pongal is no longer just celebrated in India, but it is a global festival.
तमिल संस्कृति दुनिया की सबसे प्राचीन जीवित सभ्यताओं में से एक है। तमिल संस्कृति सदियों को जोड़ती है। वो इतिहास से सीखकर वर्तमान को आगे का रास्ता दिखाती है। इसी प्रेरणा से आज का भारत अपनी जड़ों से शक्ति लेकर नई संभावनाओं की ओर आगे बढ़ रहा है।
A Pongal celebration like never before in the heart of Delhi to strengthen the spirit of Ek Bharat, Shresth Bharat.
And there's breaking news coming in. US President Donald Trump has now posted on Greenland again. The post says the United States needs Greenland for the purpose of national security. NATO should be leading the way for us to get it. This is the latest statement issued by Trump on Greenland, even as he's facing a lot of opposition on this new move to try and get Greenland. This latest post by him, where he says that he's getting threats from the other leaders. It's a big problem. Trump's warning comes after Greenland chooses Denmark, so as to say. Let me go across to senior executive editor, my colleague Abhishek Kapoor, to get a sense. Abhishek, amid the US President Donald Trump's persistent annexation threats, Greenland has categorically ruled out joining the United States, saying the Arctic territory prefers to be at union with Denmark. What are we to make out of this latest threat, this latest post coming from Donald Trump? Okay, Abhishek is going to join us in a short while. Let's also move on to the other news that's just come in. And there are mass rally protests at all Kuki-Zo-dominated areas of Manipur organized by Kuki-Zo Council. The mass rally demanding union territory with legislature under the banner "Expedite Our Political Solution." Johnson is joining us live from Imphal on the story. Johnson, once again, we are seeing these protests that have broken out. What are the details that you are getting of this protest at all the Kuki-Zo-dominated areas? We can't hear your audio. It's mute, Donald. I beg your pardon.
Sorry.
Johnson.
Yes, okay, yes, Freedom. Today, as per the report I got as of now, yes, I got the report that the Kuki-Zo communities had held a very mass protest which is organized by Kuki-Zo Council in almost all the Kuki-dominated villages of all of the hill districts, I hope so. And yes, in the mass protest, in the banner, the front banner, it is clearly written that they are demanding the union territory with their own legislature. And also in the slogans, they have cried for separate administration, and also we want. Separate administration, the separate administration is only the solution, and they also shouted for respect buffer zone also. And yes, this is a very latest report I got so far from all the Kuki-Zo dominated area. And also yes, regarding today's mass protest, Indigenous Tribal Leaders Forum ITLF have also issued a press statement showing its gratitude and its thankfulness to all the public for participating in the said mass rally.
All right, thank you for giving us those details. We are seeing that the Kuki-Zo Council protest has, in dominated areas, the mass rally protests are continuing.
On the show tonight at 6 p.m, we get to the 6 stories that have set the news agenda for today. The first story that we're tracking is about the arguments that took place between the Enforcement Directorate and the Mamata government in the Kolkata High Court. Strong observations have also been made by the High Court. The next hearing is all set to take place in Supreme Court. Another story that is making international headlines is about the Iran uprising. Is there a regime change in line next for Iran? We're getting you that and a lot more on 6 stories at 6 with me, Tanisha Vasti.
MDH की हल्दी मिर्ची धनिया करे कमाल, ये रंग दे, ये खुशबू दे, ये तीखा, ये कम पड़े, क्या निराला MDH मसाला।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो, मतवारा हुआ रे, केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
Pure Shahi Paneer Masala. Delicious, healthy, every day.
The icy cold waters of the Atlantic Ocean are getting hot, and how? The United States, in an overnight operation, has seized 2 oil tankers, one in the North Atlantic near Iceland, the other one near the Caribbean Sea. The one caught or seized near Iceland is Russia flagged, and the one that's caught near the Caribbean Sea was apparently a shadow tanker, a dark tanker carrying Venezuelan oil to China. Now, both the tankers were carrying Venezuelan oil, which is sanctioned by the United States. There is an embargo. It's interesting and a little curious how the 2 tankers could leave such heavily guarded waters, which are guarded both by the US Coast Guard and the US Navy, and reach this far. In fact, in the case of the merchant vessel Marinera, which is Russia flagged and was caught near Iceland by the US Navy with help from the United Kingdom Navy, the US Navy was on the chase, hot on the chase of this vessel for about 2 weeks, which shows that it was completely tracked, and both the sides were aware, because even in the case of the Russians, a submarine was closely following or shadowing this tanker which was carrying oil for Russia. Now, it's interesting why Russia, which itself has so much of energy, needs this oil from Venezuela, and that's where the whole geopolitics comes into play. Because remember, post the capture, abduction, kidnapping of Nicolas Maduro, the president of Venezuela, by the United States, the US has been building, President Trump himself leading from the front, a scenario where they want to really grab Greenland from Denmark. And so they really want to show that the security of North Atlantic is compromised and they need to be there, and that's why they need Greenland. So maybe it's because of that, we don't know. But taken together, it's clear that in the case of merchant vessel Marinera and the merchant vessel Sofia, which was caught, a dark fleet caught from near Caribbean Sea, which was taking the oil to China, United States has made it amply clear, taken together all these actions, that when it comes to its neighborhood, the Western Hemisphere, the so-called Monroe or the latest Donroe doctrine, they are the boss, they are the mafioso. Because the first reaction that has come from Russia says that this is absolutely in breach of international marine law. Now, United States does not subscribe to it. There is something called UN clause, United Nations Convention on the Law of the Seas. The US is not a signatory to it, and that's why they sort of, wherever their navy operates, they behave as if they are a law unto themselves, even in otherwise peace operations, more so in military operations. In this case, it's interesting that these shadow fleets are or have been working for Venezuela, and in fact, not for Venezuela, but carrying Venezuelan oil, but working for the likes of China and Russia. Are we really building up to a situation where there could be a military confrontation? We don't know, because remember, in this case also, there was a Russian submarine that was closely tracking and following merchant.
A very good evening, viewers. You're watching Live and Breaking. I am Rakhta Mishra with you. Let's take a quick check of the headlines at this hour. After Kolkata High Court adjourns ED's plea, the Supreme Court to hear the Enforcement Directorate's plea tomorrow. Big defense boost for India. Defense Ministry likely to take up 3 lakh crore Rafale deal. BJP's Anamalai sends open offer to Vijay for a tie-up in Tamil Nadu. Says must consolidate anti-DMK votes immediately. In a historic voyage, INSV Kandiya, which departed from Port Bandar on the 29th of December, arrives in Muscat. Top Malaysian official confronted with questions on Zakir Naik, zero response from him. Pro-Khamenei protests erupt in Ladakh's Cargill. Protesters condemn America's interference in Iran's internal matters. And we have breaking news coming in right now. Trump's fresh comment on Greenland. Now, Trump has posted on X saying that I quote Trump, the United States needs Greenland for the purpose of national security. NATO should be leading the way for us to get it. If we don't, Russia or China will, and that is not going to happen, unquote. So that's Donald Trump reiterating his stance on Greenland. This is Trump's mission, Greenland, it seems, and he says that it is important for the NATO alliance, and he has once again raised the issue of Greenland. He says that Russia or China might just get Greenland. So it's not the first time we see Donald Trump making such comments on Greenland. And in fact, we also had the Polish president calling for resolving rising tensions over Greenland. And NATO has also started to discuss some steps on Arctic security, it seems, in light of what Trump has been saying. So this is the breaking news we have right now. And Donald Trump threatening over the seizure of Greenland, and his desire to take over Greenland once again expressed by him now. And that's the breaking news we have right now. But can, of course, is this okay? We have geopolitical expert Purnima Nath joining us on the broadcast. Ma'am, how do you react to this continuous threats that are being made on Greenland? Now Donald Trump says that the US needs Greenland, the NATO needs Greenland for security.
Right, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I think the global community has to somewhere or the long have to get they have to stand up. This is obviously not right, but what I understand based on what I've seen so far, it doesn't really matter for Trump or in fact America. And I think it's the game of rich versus poor and big versus small. Greenland's economy is $3 to $4 billion, and it's nothing. I mean, even a small company is around worth that much. The population is 57,000. What they want or not, nobody cares, especially from United States side, and not other superpowers are not saying anything. But I think either there's an opportunity here that the world is breaking into 2 or 3 segments in terms of alignment. But I think what I've seen, the smaller countries like Iceland, Norway, Sweden, they have spoken out, Finland. So I think, here, this is a clear case that the old colonialism is back, where you have the opportunity to just literally go and invade a country, pick up their leaders,
right.
Yeah, and this is quite concerning at in 21st century. And I think either we're looking at G2, G3 kind of situation, or the entire global order is shifting towards the collapse and then rebranding of post-democratic era.
Right. Ms. Purnima Nath, thank you so much for joining us on Republic TV with your reaction on that story that we're closely tracking, viewers. Meanwhile, we'll take a quick check of the news that coming in from across the country. This is Bharat in a minute. Qatar police launched a massive anti-terror operation in the Rajbagh area after 2 suspects were spotted by a local. Extensive search operations are underway. Airspace restrictions will be imposed at Delhi Airport between 26th and 29th of January in connection with Republic Day celebrations. Non-scheduled flights will not be permitted to take off or land between 8:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Republic Day. KIIT has been ranked the country's 5th best university in attracting foreign students, according to a Niti Aayog report. KIIT hosts over 2,000 international students from 70 countries with a strong global alumni base of more than 5,000. And INSV Kandiya has scripted maritime history today. The traditionally stitched Indian ship has completed a rare 18-day sea voyage and reached Muscat of Oman, reviving India's ancient shipbuilding legacy on the global stage. Here's a report.
INSV Kandiya completes a historic 18-day voyage. The traditional Indian ship has successfully reached Muscat, Oman, marking a major milestone in reviving India's ancient maritime heritage. INSV Kandiya is inspired by a 5th century ship depicted in the Ajanta cave paintings. The vessel was built in Goa using a 2,000-year-old stitching technique where wooden planks were stitched together using coconut fiber and natural resin without a single metal nail. The ship has no engine or GPS and runs entirely on wind power using square cotton sails and paddles. Launched in February 2025, the ship features Ganda Berunda and sun motif on its sails, a Simha Yali carving on the bow, and a Harappan-style stone anchor on deck. A 16-member crew led by Commander Vikas Shioran was on board the ship during its first international voyage. Named after Kandiya, a legendary 1st century Indian mariner, the vessel symbolizes India's long tradition of maritime trade, exploration and cultural exchange.
Alright, we have visuals coming in from Iran. This is the Iranian regime's show of strength, pro-government show of strength at a funeral of the security personnel who lost their lives. Iran claims over 300 security personnel have been killed in these protests as Iran remains on edge. This is the first admission from Iran on casualties in the last few days, and thousands have been on the streets of Tehran to back the Iranian regime. What they, of course, do not talk about is that more than 200 people of Iran have also been killed. And they claim that there are more than 300 security personnel that have been killed. In total, what we understand, viewers, from international agencies is that 2,500 people have been killed. If we talk about the protesters, that's the breaking news we have right now. And so this is the funeral procession, as you can see, from the Tehran University attack. And okay, these are the mass protests for security personnel who have been killed. And this is a show of strength, of course, from the Khamenei regime. And these are visuals coming in from Tehran. You can see the Iranian flag. And this is the funeral procession of the security personnel who have been killed. And so not just, of course, the security personnel, we have to also keep in mind the people who were raising their voice against the Iranian regime have also been killed. There have been deadly clashes between the security personnel and the people, the common man, the citizens of Iran. And all this while as there are groups that report more than 2,000 people have been killed in the violent crackdown by security forces on protests in Iran. And you can see that this is the funeral procession of the security personnel. And you can see the posters of Ayatollah Khamenei and the slogans being raised, chants echoing across Iran. And the situation remains tense, as in fact Indian embassy has also said that has called for a safe exit. My colleague Shavan Sen joins us on the broadcast. Shavan, well, we see that there are protest marches and then there are counters coming in from the Iranian regime as well. This is a show of strength, of course, from the Iranian regime, as we see that slogans, banners in support of Ayatollah Khamenei right now. More than at least 300 security personnel killed. But what we understand is that there are more of the protesters, the common man who are on the streets, who have been killed in thousands.
Well, Rakshita, let's make no mistake about the fact that as far as these numbers are concerned, numbers of deaths that may have taken place in Iran, these numbers have essentially come in from mostly from glitz, or for that matter, human rights organizations from operating from countries like Norway and a few other places. Having said that, there is a growing resentment right now as far as the regime is concerned with regards to certain decisions that have been taken place. And more importantly, the trigger point essentially starts with the economic crisis that Iran faces at this point in time. But having said that, can we really say that perhaps it's the end of the supreme leader in Iran? If you look at these images that are now coming in, this is a counter to what most Western media outlets are essentially showing the world, saying that perhaps with the intervention of the United States of America, things could actually return back to those very days that Iran had largely seen. But having said that, there are two images that are really coming in. One, supporting the regime, and there is a considerable amount of support that the regime actually has. Having said that, this is countered by mostly the Western media outlets, which have essentially targeted saying that the protesters who have basically taken to the streets have targeted various institutions that basically represent the supreme leader, and what was essentially seeing an area that could not have been breached, that is the IRGC itself. Now, IRGC institutions or installations have also been targeted by the protesters. That's what some of the reports are essentially suggesting.
Stay on with us, Shravan. We have some more updates coming in from West Asia. In fact, this is from Israel. It's a big development coming in. Now, Benjamin Netanyahu's plane has taken off. The Wings of Zion aircraft has departed. And the last time the Wings of Zion took off was when Israel struck Iran. So this is getting, these are fast-paced developments, from West Asia. And we see the warnings that are coming in from US, Shravan. And now you have Israel's official state plane leaving Israeli airspace. That's the latest update we are getting in right now. Of course, there is no official, a confirmation as to what is the reason behind this. Is it something to do with Iran or not? But of course, it's an interesting development. Okay, I'm told that we will try and reconnect with Shravan on that. But this is the Wing of Zion plane. This is the state plane of Israel, and it has departed from Israel. It has left Israeli airspace, what we understand. And this is, viewers, this is happening amidst all these developments from Iran that we've been tracking. Remember, there have been US personnel also being told to leave Qatar base as Iran touts readiness for conflict. Peak readiness for conflict, as it says, as I quote Iranian officials. Now, Wings of Zion, flying and taking off from Israel, coming in amid the tensions in Iran, raises many questions, raises concerns. If there is any fresh escalation, and Iran, on the other hand, continues to issue warnings to US allies in West Asia, and of course, at the forefront of it is Israel, which has had conflicts just recently, Iran versus Israel. We've seen that, and Iran continues to warn its neighbors. Niranjan Narayan joins us on the phone line from Niranjan. Well, it's a very interesting development coming in amid the tensions in Iran. Now we understand that the state plane of Israel has taken off.
Well, there's a pattern that many people are seeing into it, including the Israeli media, which is reported as the state plane. It is a state plane called Wings of Zion. It's left the Israeli airspace, and there are some reports that suggest that the plane has landed in Greece, in Crete. This is the official state plane that carries Benjamin Netanyahu. We don't know whether Netanyahu is on that plane, but it was headed over the Mediterranean to the Nevatim Air Force Base, and it departed Israel ahead of what is anticipated to be a strike on Iran in the next few days. We don't know when the strike is going to happen, if the strike is going to happen at all, but there have been indicative tweets by Donald Trump, who has said that help is on the way, etc. So ahead of the strike, this movement is being seen as a pattern, because the last time that Israel struck Iran, a similar thing happened. The Wing of Zion official plane took off from Israel. Some officials have been cited by Israeli reports, trying to deny that it has anything to do with Iran and that it was engaged in a regular scheduled training mission, etc. But this is significant. This is also being seen as a pattern when you look at what happened on the 13th of June, 2025, when hours after Israel launched its attack on Iranian nuclear and ballistic missile sites, the same plane took off from the Ben Gurion airport, from where it's taken off right now. And once again in 2024, April, ahead of a missile and drone attack on Israel, once again the Wing of Zion plane flew out from another base called the Nevatim base, which was later targeted. So this is perhaps in anticipation. It just tells you that perhaps there is something that's brewing, something on the move that we don't know about. And we're also, of course, you also saw the Indian advisory that came in asking all Indians to get out of Iran. So there is something happening, and this seems to be a pattern of a build-up.
Yes, it seems that it's just... situation is on the boil, and we'll keep a close eye on that. Thank you so much for that, Niranjan, for joining us. Details coming in. Now, shifting focus, viewers, to what exactly has been happening in Iran. It's witnessing continuous protests, intense protests since many days, for weeks, and more than 2,000 protesters have already been killed. And the interference now being made by US, the intervention by US has made the times even more tougher. The situation started to get worse after US President Trump issued a warning that US will take very strong action if protesters are hanged, and asking protesters to continue their protests, and they think that help will be on their way. Following which, Iran has now written a letter to United Nations Security Council. Here's a look.
After continuous protests going on in Iran, it is reportedly set to execute its first protester today, following the mass arrest in connection with the widespread anti-regime demonstrations. Reacting to this, Trump warned Iran to take military action if any of the protesters are hanged. Further, Trump's fiery comment, "Continue protesting and take over your institutions," has brought him into the headline again.
Ideally, you'd like to see it, but what we want to see is we don't want to see people killed, and we want to see a little bit of freedom for these people. These people have been living in hell for a long time. That used to be a hell of a country. I have friends that used to invest in Iran, and they did well with their investments. It was a great place. The people were great. Even the leadership was good. And now it's living in hell.
Following this huge comment, Iran has appealed to United Nations Security Council and to the UN Secretary General, where Iran accused US of inciting violence while also pointing out the interference in internal affairs of Iran. The letter also mentioned the threatening military action and the violation of core principles of international law. Meanwhile, Tehran has responded sharply to the comments made by Trump. Tehran stated that the comments encourage unrest, while also suggesting external support for attempts to seize state institutions. But Iranian officials argued that the external support amounts to an explicit threat against the country's sovereignty and national security. As tensions escalate due to the intensifying protests and rising diplomatic tensions, Iran now stands at critical crossroads. The world is watching closely on how the standoff will unfold further.
Now, speaking in Delhi today, Tamil Nadu BJP leader Anamalai invited actor and politician Vijay, TVK chief, for a possible tie-up, emphasizing that all anti-DMK votes must come together ahead of the assembly elections. He says that DMK is now desperate as it already knows the election results will not be in their favor. And now, of course, it will be interesting to see how TVK responds, since Vijay has previously said that he does not ideologically align with these parties. He does not even align with the BJP, he had said, and he had ruled out that he does not want to go in with anyone. Take a listen into this exclusive conversation my colleague had with Anamalai.
So, what are your Pongal wishes first of all?
Madam, Thai month, the new Tamil month, which is starting tomorrow, day 1, it is a very important auspicious month because of the ascending nature of Lord Surya. And this is a day that brings all of us together. This is the day we pay our respects to our former friends. This is the day we give importance to Mother Nature. So everything combined together, we celebrate Pongal. And I hope and pray this coming Pongal year will be a great year for all of us across all cultures. And together we all work together for Viksit Bharat 2047 in a spirit of togetherness. That is my wish and prayer, madam.
Much anticipated Tamil Nadu elections are just near the corner. The concerns around DMK's corruptions are increasing. What are the chances of BJP's comeback there or NDA's comeback for that matter in Tamil Nadu?
It is very high. NDA will come to power for sure. The anti-incumbency of the DMK government is very, very high, sky high. And fortunately, unfortunately, Tamil Nadu is also seeing a four-corner fight as of now. Not in many Indian states we will see a four-corner fight. So four-corner fight in a past the post-democracy. Many people are concerned about the vote split, but I am not really concerned. Because our alliance has got the chemistry, our alliance has got a purpose, our alliance has got the experience. With the Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji coming to Tamil Nadu on 23rd January, right after Pongal, kicking off our the active poll preparation. From then on, we have about good 60-70 days in the ground level. Our booth workers are strong. For the last many months, our state president has gone on a yatra. The opposition leader has just finished his yatra. So cadres are working together with the single aim that DMK should be taken out of power. So I am very confident you will see a 2/3 number of seats being won by the NDA partners.
My last question around the Karur incident. We saw so many innocent lives lost there. CBI has summoned actor turned politician Vijay again on 19th January. He's clearly denying any part to be played, any role to be played in that incident. How do you see that?
Madam, there are two things. One is a moral responsibility, one is a legal responsibility. So from day one, we are very clear that legally it is the DMK government that is the main responsible for the whole mess that is created. The DMK government has arrested a couple of TVK functionaries also. Now, since the matter has gone to Supreme Court and later to CBI, a Supreme Court retired judge led CBI inquiry. Now it is for everybody to cooperate. In fact, the Tamil Nadu police senior officers are also getting summoned. The ADGP Law and Order, ADGP Intelligence, the Karur District SP, Collector, everybody CBI is summoning. The whole idea of CBI, what I understand from outside as a common man, is they want to get to the root of this issue. How the permission was sought, how it was given, why they given this plan, the nature of Vijay's movement on that particular day. So they want to go to the root of this issue. Let us wait for the CBI inquiry to get completed. All of us pray for the innocents who lost their life, and more importantly, the people who made sure that incident happened, they should not be spared. So justice has to operate in two parts. One part, justice should have a soft court. Whoever has died, we have to take care of them. People are already giving monetary compensation, including BJP. The second part, who is responsible, without even any fear or favor, you should go after them. We hope and pray CBI will do that.
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Live and Breaking. But my colleague Tanisha Avasthi will be with you with the 6 stories at 6. Don't go anywhere.
On the show tonight at 6 p.m, we get you the 6 stories that have set the news agenda for today. The first story that we're tracking is about the arguments that took place between the Enforcement Directorate and the Mamata government in the Kolkata High Court. Strong observations have also been made by the High Court. The next hearing is all set to take place in Supreme Court. Another story that is making international headlines is about the Iran uprising. Is there a regime change in line next for Iran? We're getting you that and a lot more on 6 stories at 6 with me, Tanisha Avasthi.
सीक्रेट रेसिपी MDH का जीरा सिप जल जीरा मसाला
इसको घर पे लगाओगे तो शादी का तो पता नहीं, पर घर पक्का नहीं टूटेगा।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
पहाड़ों में एक हाइकिंग शिप भी बन सकती है।
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ 8 मिनट में तैयार। क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
The icy cold waters of the Atlantic Ocean are getting hot, and how? The United States, in an overnight operation, has seized 2 oil tankers, one in the North Atlantic near Iceland, the other one near the Caribbean Sea. The one caught or seized near Iceland is Russia flagged, and the one that's caught near the Caribbean Sea was apparently a shadow tanker, a dark tanker carrying Venezuelan oil to China. Now, both the tankers were carrying Venezuelan oil, which is sanctioned by the United States. There is an embargo. It's interesting and a little curious how the 2 tankers could leave such heavily guarded waters, which are guarded both by the US Coast Guard and the US Navy, and reach this far. In fact, in the case of the merchant vessel Marinera, which is Russia flagged and was caught near Iceland by the US Navy with help from the United Kingdom Navy, the US Navy was on the chase, hot on the chase of this vessel for about 2 weeks, which shows that it was completely tracked, and both the sides were aware, because even in the case of the Russians, a submarine was closely following or shadowing this tanker which was carrying oil for Russia. Now, it's interesting why Russia, which itself has so much of energy, needs this oil from Venezuela, and that's where the whole geopolitics comes into play. Because remember, post the capture, abduction, kidnapping of Nicolas Maduro, the president of Venezuela, by the United States, the US has been building, President Trump himself leading from the front.
Tonight on This Is Exclusive, we put the spotlight on Iran. What's really happening on the ground? What we are witnessing, is it just Western propaganda, or is it the truth? Is it time up from Khamenei? All this and much more on this edition of This Is Exclusive.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरी राजा, सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
ये है सीक्रेट रेसिपी MDH का जीरा सिप जल जीरा मसाला। सिप सिप जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप।
The icy cold waters of the Atlantic Ocean are getting hot, and how? The United States, in an overnight operation, has seized 2 oil tankers, one in the North Atlantic near Iceland, the other one near the Caribbean Sea. The one caught or seized near Iceland is Russia flagged, and the one that's caught near the Caribbean Sea was apparently a shadow tanker, a dark tanker carrying Venezuelan oil to China. Now, both the tankers were carrying Venezuelan oil, which is sanctioned by the United States. There is an embargo. It's interesting and a little curious how the 2 tankers could leave.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching 6 Stories at 6 with me, Tanisha Avasthi. Let's quickly get you started with the 6 stories that have set the agenda for today. There's a fierce courtroom battle that took place between the Mamata government and the Enforcement Directorate over the green files, and this is what made the top headlines today. We'll get you what actually took place inside the Kolkata High Court today. In international news, there seems to be no end to Iran uprising, and speculations are there that the regime change is the next big thing in line. In Sambhal, Yogi's model of justice has been continuing with bulldozer action on illegal encroachment. Meanwhile, Pakistan is crossing the line yet again with drones spotted over the LOC for the second time in just 48 hours. And we get you details of the historic voyage that has been conducted, where the ship has reclaimed its maritime glory. It is a huge feat for India. Also, in other news that we are tracking are the snippets from the Prime Minister Modi's Pongal celebration in Delhi. We get you that and a lot more, starting first up with the top story. Ladies and gentlemen, the Supreme Court of India is scheduled to hear a petition filed by the Enforcement Directorate on January 15, 2026, that is tomorrow, against the West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee, the state of West Bengal and several police officials including Rajiv Kumar, Manoj Kumar Verma and Priyabrata Roy over allegations of obstruction during an Enforcement Directorate raid on the Kolkata office of IPAC. The hearing today took place in Calcutta High Court, where the ED claimed that during the raid that happened last week, Mamata Banerjee and her officials took possession of the files illegally. Here is what happened in the Calcutta High Court today and what could likely happen in the Supreme Court tomorrow.
The ED versus Mamata battle has now reached the courts of India. In a petition filed by ED, the agency has claimed obstruction by the CM during raids on IPAC co-founder Pratik Jain. The agency has also demanded the return of documents and electronic material it claims was snatched by Mamata. TMC, however, has alleged that the action against IPAC was a pretext to illegally access the party's political strategy ahead of the West Bengal Assembly elections. Visuals, confrontations, unanswered questions. What was inside the green files that left the IPAC office? The allegations: the CM forcibly entered the IPAC office in Kolkata during an ED search linked to the alleged jobs for cash scam and misuse of funds connected to the coal smuggling case. Over 20 crore rupees allegedly funneled illegally. Funds suspected for TMC's Goa elections. The ED today also alleged that a Trinamool Congress representative filed an incorrect affidavit before the court. Last hearing was forced to disrupt and adjourn the hearing minutes after it began due to chaos. The ED also accused the West Bengal police allegedly acting in collusion with the Chief Minister. The document pointed out that the ED search action was initiated against IPAC, not TMC. The Calcutta High Court has dismissed the petition filed by the party, and the Supreme Court is all set to hear the ED's plea on Thursday.
Iran is witnessing a huge uprising, continuous intense protests since many more weeks now, where more than 3,000 protesters had already been killed. And the interference by the United States has made their times even more tougher. The situation started to get worse after President Trump issued a warning stating that the United States will take very strong action if protesters are hanged, and asked protesters to continue their protest. Following which, Iran has written a letter to the United Nations Security Council. Here is a look at what's happening and if regime change in Iran is the next big move that the country could see.
After continuous protests going on in Iran, it is reportedly set to execute its first protester today, following the mass arrest in connection with the widespread anti-regime demonstrations. Reacting to this, Trump warned Iran to take military action if any of the protesters are hanged. Further, Trump's fiery comment, "Continue protesting and take over your institutions," has brought him into the headline again.
Ideally, you'd like to see it, but what we want to see is we don't want to see people killed, and we want to see a little bit of freedom for these people. These people have been living in hell for a long time. That used to be a hell of a country. I have friends that used to invest in Iran, and they did well with their investments. It was a great place. The people were great. Even the leadership was good. And now it's living in hell.
Following this huge comment, Iran has appealed to United Nations Security Council and to the UN Secretary General, where Iran accused US of inciting violence while also pointing out the interference in internal affairs of Iran. The letter also mentioned the threatening military action and the violation of core principles of international law. Meanwhile, Tehran has responded sharply to the comments made by Trump. Tehran stated that the comments encourage unrest, while also suggesting external support for attempts to seize state institutions. But Iranian officials argued that the external support amounts to an explicit threat against the country's sovereignty and national security. As tensions escalate due to the intensifying protests and rising diplomatic tensions, Iran now stands at critical crossroads. The world is watching closely on how the standoff will unfold further.
And in Uttar Pradesh, the action on illegal encroachment continues. A team had arrived today in Sambhal to reduce an illegal encroachment to dust. There have been at least 3 bulldozer action which have happened in Sambhal so far. Republic even managed to get a word from the Tehsildar who was present during the bulldozer action. Here is more on the report on why was the action taken and what was the result after that.
The Yogi government is stepping up and taking action against alleged illegal encroachments in Sambhal. This bulldozer action has freed up approximately 19 bighas of land from illegal encroachment. This action was taking place on the Chandausi road in Sambhal Tehsil. During the clearance of the encroachment, the Tehsildar and Lekpal were also present.
ये लगभग 20 बीघा लैंड है जो स्कूल के नाम, पंचायत घर के नाम इत्यादि विभिन्न ग्राम समाज के मदों के नाम से दर्ज है, जिस पर वर्षों से लोगों के कब्जे हैं और इन कब्जों के विरुद्ध विभिन्न न्यायालयों में तमाम वाद भी विचाराधीन रहे हैं। कोर्ट से निर्णय आ चुका है, आज उनको डिस्पोजेस किया जाएगा और जो मुकदमे अभी विचाराधीन है उस पर निर्णय आने का इंतजार किया जाएगा। बताया जा रहा है कि कोई धार्मिक स्थल मौजूद है, लेकिन उस स्थल के बारे में मेरे न्यायालय से कोई आदेश पारित नहीं हुआ है और न ही अपीलेट कोर्ट से कोई आदेश पारित नहीं किया गया है।
The house of the headman of Bicholi village is also being described as illegal. The administration has asked the headman to vacate the house. The village head's grandfather has also said that they were not given any prior information and that they should have given at least 2 days of time. The Uttar Pradesh government is keeping a close eye on all the illegal encroachments in the state. So far, there have been at least 3 bulldozer actions which have happened in Sambhal.
Despite the significant setback that Pakistan suffered during India's Operation Sindoor in May 2025, provocative activities along the line of control have been continuing and is persistent. On January 13, multiple suspected Pakistani drones were spotted intruding into the Indian airspace in the Rajouri district of Jammu and Kashmir, marking the second such incident in just 48 hours. Indian Army troops promptly opened fire using medium and light machine guns as a part of counter unmanned aerial system measures, causing the drones to either crash, retreat or disappear after brief hovering over the areas. Security forces have been placed on high alert with ongoing ground search operations launched in Rajouri and neighbouring Poonch districts to check for any possible airdrops of weapons or narcotics. Here is all that you need to know about how Pakistan is crossing the line yet again.
सारी मस्जिद उड़ गई है, सारी भाई कोई है उते
नूर खान बेस में आगे गिरा है, ये अटैक हुआ है नूर खान बेस पे।
Pakistan, after being massively jolted during Operation Sindoor, has come up with another anti-India operation. Multiple drones have been spotted, especially in the Kera area of line of control. In response to the drone infiltration attempt, Indian Army foils these multiple drones of Pakistan in last 48 hours.
Yesterday evening, we saw once again the Pakistani drone movement into the Indian area. Though it is said that it was a single or two drones, but the sighting was done at the multiple locations. It was under a single unit of the Indian Army that has been deployed in the Rajauris Chingas area and the Mankot area, that they saw the Pakistani drones entering into the Indian territory and they fired upon the Pakistani drone. Though what we are getting to know that the drones were flying at a very high when it comes to countering that with the fire. So the drone went back to the Pakistani territory. This area where the drones were spotted in the Chingas area and the nearby area, this has an infiltration gap that has been used in the past by the Pakistani terrorists to sneak in into the Indian territory. So there lies a possibility that it was a surveillance so as to look that from where the terrorist can cross over to the Indian territory.
Apart from this, search operations has also been launched to check for any airdrop weapons or contraband.
Jammu and Kashmir Police has launched a large-scale search operation in the border areas. These operations are to ensure that any activity from across the border is foiled. Right now, we are in the Araspura sector where you will see that these large-scale search and the combing operations are underway. This is to rule out the possibility of triple threat from the Pakistan. The first and the foremost threat is of the Pakistani drone intrusion into the Indian territory that we have seen in last couple of days also. The intensified drone attempts from across the border. All the officials as well as the Jawans are hitting the grounds so as to ensure that any attempt from Pakistan is foiled. The second threat continues to be the ground infiltration because we are in the first month of 2026. And here what happens that the Pakistan, taking the advantage of the dense fog and the weather, they try to infiltrate terrorists using the ground infiltration into the Indian territory.
Now, issue has been raised with Pakistan's DGMO amid heightened border tensions and repeated drone sighting near LOC. In this ongoing border tensions, Chief of Army assessed the gravity of the event, stating that these are defensive drones, nothing else.
ये जो ड्रोन्स अभी हमने देखे हैं ये बहुत छोटे ड्रोन्स हैं, ये लाइट ऑन करके आते हैं, ये बहुत हाइट पे नहीं जाते हैं और ये बहुत ही कम देखे गए हैं. जैसे 10 के आसपास तकरीबन 6 से 7 देखे गए थे, 11 और 12 तारीख को 2 से 3 देखे गए हैं. तो ये जो ड्रोन थे ये मैं समझता हूं कि डिफेंसिव ड्रोन थे जो कि ये ऊपर आके देखना चाहते हैं कि हमारे अगेंस्ट कोई कार्रवाई तो नहीं हो रही है. मैं ये मना नहीं कर रहा हूं, हो सकता है कि वो ये भी देखना चाहें कि कोई कहीं गैप तो नहीं है, इंडियन आर्मी में कोई ढिलाई तो नहीं है, कोई गैप हो जहां से वो टेररिस्ट वहां से भेज सके. तो मेरे ख्याल से उनको उसका नेगेटिव जवाब भी मिला होगा, उन्होंने देखा होगा कि आज की तारीख पे कोई ऐसी जगह नहीं है, कोई ऐसे गैप्स नहीं जहां से वो भेज सकें. लेकिन ये जरूर है आज जो हमारी डीजीएमओ स्टॉक हुई है उस स्टॉक में इसके बारे में जिक्र किया गया है और उनको बताया गया है कि ये हमें मंजूर नहीं है और कृपया करके इस पे लगाम लगाइए.
Since border tensions heated up, it needs to be seen how Indian Army will retaliate on this.
And shifting our focus to another big story that we are tracking that has registered its name in the books of history. INSV Kandiya has scripted a maritime history. The traditionally stitched Indian ship has completed a rare 18-day sea voyage and reached Muscat, Oman, reviving India's ancient shipbuilding legacy on the global stage. And why this is important, ladies and gentlemen, is because this is the first time that such incident and such voyage has been taken place. It was an 18-day tour. The country is celebrating the huge success. Here is what the crew spoke and how did they complete the 18-day of voyage, what went through the journey and how is it an important event in the history of maritime glory.